All right, bros. All right. Beep boop. Beep boop. How hungry. Okay, so just look, you know, just let me just say this really quickly, just to get it off my mind so that we're on the same page. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I can't do everything. I have ADHD. I mean, even if I didn't, I still can't do everything. I can't come up with the ideas, then think of cool ways to present them, and then do the work to present them in like a cool way. I'm doing the best I can. But I feel a little bit bad that we're just gonna be reading this, and then I'm asking you to hang out with me. I think this is gonna be an interesting conversation. Um, and just remember that if you want to compare my content to other people's content, and maybe that's stupid of me to say and do myself, um, but pretty natural, pretty natty thing to do. If you want really cool presentation of some really cool ideas, and you go to certain creators who what they create is presentation, then that's what you're getting. So hopefully, when you're watching a video, it's really great presentation. That's what you're getting. Now, someone like Mark Rober, on the other hand, actually, that's an example that comes to mind. 100% doing both. Now, of course, he's got a whole team, or the sauce, and they've got whole teams though, or not the sauce, I guess. I mean, he's kind of, but he adds interpretation and presentation. I don't know how much of the work is actually sort of original. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. Anyway, let's move on. Forget it. Anyway, I'm just saying, when you're watching this, what you're watching is raw, the thoughts. And I've said it before. If you want to see this presented in a cool animated way, just wait 30 years. Somebody will do it. All right. So, hey, maybe that'll be you. Huh? You could make maybe big money being the presenter of Eris's work. All right. So here's what's happening. You know what? All right. So what I'm about to say now, is the beginning of the video. Okay. Today I want to talk about two things. In this video, what I want to do is look at the Kimmel Robert Downey Jr. thing. Um, I was confused by people's reaction to Will Smith when that happened, so I want to talk a little bit about that. And I was and I'm really annoyed with people's reaction to with Kimmel, and it's just, gosh, the wording is just also silly. And I want to talk about critical recognition in both of these cases, having some sense of understanding of the mind. But I'm going to be thinking in this video. I'm going to be talking to ChatGPT about these things. I've got ChatGPT caught up now. Gosh, I should stream, but I just don't have, that good of internet. Um, I don't know that I should stream. All right, you know what? Fuck you. The other thing I want to talk about today, and I don't know whether we're actually going to end up talking about both in this video, but I was originally wanted to record looking through the translations of this taxonomy. This is I think this is the first taxonomy of Malit's, of this, what was I going to say? Of this, size, caliber, whatever, scale. Um, and I was part of the team. I mean, I mostly just did some translations of the names of the different mallets. Mallets, of course, are the maladaptive bits. They don't know about mallets, so they call them fallacies. So it's just all the different fallacies. And I kind of stopped contributing to the project because I was annoyed that the guy who the main guy, wouldn't hear me about it theory. Um, and it's like, you look here, you have appeal to emotion, for instance. I tried to tell him that every useful thing on here, it's a psychological thing. Um, no matter how it's presented on here, ultimately it's psychological because it works for the human mind. What is a fallacy? It's something that seems to a human mind to work. That it's something that seems reasonable to a human mind that isn't reasonable. So it's a siren. It's something that sings, but shouldn't. So a siren from the it vocabulary. Now, what makes something a siren? Well, it tickles certain mechanisms in us. So basically, okay, so the sit stem, compilation of all the different its, all the different if then mechanisms. There are some its that were sort of adaptive in our evolution, but aren't actually like reasonable. So, for instance, let's look at this appeal to outrage. How do they phrase this? Eliciting an audience's anger, which becomes evidence in support of a proposition. Okay, so there's an it in the mind that goes, if the stated problem is outrageous, then the proposed solution is good, which is not a reasonable thing. But that's for instance how that works. So that I would phrase all of these as if then. And now here's why we evolved to have the rule: if the problem is dramatic, then go for that solution, whatever solution's being proposed. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Yeah. Well, of course, if there's a big dramatic problem, then we need to respond to it, and we evolved to with some solutions. So, for instance, if some berries are poisonous, that's a big problem, right? We see some people throwing up. So someone goes, "Look at this! This is outrageous! This is terrible!" We've been, well, I guess it wouldn't be anger there; it'd be more of fear or something. But whatever. We have to not eat those berries. That's like a pre-programmed solution. So let's get that adopted immediately. Whatever solution was proposed by the person who pointed out this outrageous problem, does that make sense? Kind of. So for anger, for instance, if there's another tribe and someone's like, "Yo, look how much they're fucking us over. They've stolen from us," or even if it just let's get and you get the people riled up. So we need to go destroy them. Hell yeah, we do. Hell yeah, we do. Hell yeah, we do. Because I'm outraged by what happened. That there is an advantage to that. That anger leads to the acceptance of a solution, and that's kind of the point of anger. It's all about it's to give you a little boost to overcome obstacles. It's to move to the resolution of a problem. Even if that resolutions we come up with aren't great, but let's do it. And luckily, we didn't evolve with a whole bunch of super shitty resolutions to the problems that we evolved with, because otherwise we wouldn't have survived, right? If the problems that we evolved with, we didn't have sort of pre-programmed pretty good solutions, like Neo, for instance. If there's no food around, and Neo doesn't go find some, right? That's his pre-programmed solution. No food around, go find some. Okay, so we have a lot of it's that, especially for his long time environmental demands, we have a lot of responses to them pre-programmed. So then anger is sort of a switch we flip to move on to that, to take the problem seriously, to put our attention on it, and to execute the solution. Because the solution we came up with is probably good enough. Of course, that's not actually the case now, especially with this example given. We don't have sort of an idea for a solution when we think about stuff like this. We did not really evolve for a pre-programmed solution to, are you tired of being ignored by your government? Is it right that the top 1% have so much when the rest of us have so little? Actually, a bit. We definitely did. So that's why we're able to get angry, because we do have a sense of fairness in us. So that gets us angry. And then we just go, okay, whatever you're proposing, let's do it, because we need to respond to the solution. And I'm trusting, since you're a human brain that's made it this far, then whatever solution you come up with is probably good enough. I think I've explained that well enough. Okay, so what I want to do is we're going to check. There's like 1,000. But we're going, like, humor. obviously it's a psychological thing. But let's see whether we can find overinterpretation and prejudice. All of these are psychological. Sloppy argument, like and if an argument is sloppy but still triggers sings for us, meaning it triggers validation. We're like, okay, that sounds good, um, on first hearing, and that's because we have an it in here. Like maybe there's a sloppy cliche thinking. Let's say using a well-known saying as evidence as if it's universally true or without exceptions. There you go. So, if a generalization is no, if something is common wisdom, then it is true for this case. There's two problems with that. One is that generalizations aren't true for every case, and two is that common wisdom isn't always even a good generalization. And maybe not common wisdom, but common sayings or whatever, cliche. Now, this is the last one where I'm going to really give an example like that, because we do have other shit to talk about, and I think this is convincing enough. But we do have to look at the other side as well. No, faulty generalization, dude. Yeah. So anyway, so cliche thinking. So if all right, so why did we? Well, because that's how tribes and our evolution, cultural and cognitive evolution worked, is that we don't have to, each individual doesn't have to relearn everything. If the elders have learned something and if they're handing down this knowledge, what's amazing about humans is that we go, okay, boom, then that's true. So if something is said, then we evolved for it to have truth weight. If they say don't go over there, not every teenager needs to go over there and check it out. Now, some will be rebellious enough to do that, and that's a good thing, because maybe that area now is safe, actually, and maybe there are now plenty of possible prey there, right? So that's why humans, brilliant. We've got these teenage rebels that are gonna, go out there, but not every teenager's, gonna go out there. And a lot of the adults will say, no, don't go out there. Here's what is said, and therefore here is what is true. Um, so I don't understand that example. All work deserves pay, and it's high time we reaped the rewards of our. So basically, what you would put for the if then, if a statement or saying is common, then it holds for this case. Yeah. That is a mechanism that exists in the mind. I've explained why we evolved with that mechanism. But it is a siren, because if I tickle that mechanism in you, I say, hey, look, this thing is said, therefore, this case. Then you're going to go, makes sense. Yeah, I've got that too in here. Yep, absolutely. So anyway, every one of these things is psychological. So I can't, I'm going to get really overwhelmed as I look at these hasty conclusion, false equivalence. Look at this. Making two arguments or pieces of evidence appear to be logically equivalent when they are not. And that was another thing that really annoyed me. This like pretending that when we produce fallacies, when we convince someone with a mallet or try to persuade someone with a mallet, that we know that it's a mallet, that we know that it's a fallacy. But in fact, the speaker here, two arguments may indeed be considered, or at least by whatever mechanisms are speaking, have not been seen as different and considered logically equivalent. But of course, we're not reasonable enough to really we don't actually think through everything, but we can go, this, boom, because that serves my anyway. So what we would put here is you demand that I do my homework at home after school. Do I request you do overtime home at work? Great. So if there exists a common feature between two scenarios, and if the response to the first scenario is unfavorable, but if the response to the second scenario is favorable, then draw attention to the second scenario. That's a perfectly fine it. Now, we're not very good at really judging whether the common feature is important or not, right? So, for instance, here the common feature would be asking work to be done after work, after assignment place. So you ask me to do work in a place other than where it was assigned. But that doesn't make sense because I don't ask you to do work in a place other than where it was assigned. So that's the commonality. But that actually doesn't work because where it was assigned doesn't actually make a difference really of where it should be done, especially when you compare work, and homework. In fact, another thing that sounds right to us is that we could say, no, it's called homework. And that's not really like reasonable. It's kind of insufficient. So it would definitely fall under insufficiency to say something like, if the dad were to respond, it's called homework, that would be insufficient. Just because the word is in there doesn't actually mean that, But anyway, what else? Let's see. Absolutely crazy. And he was telling me psychological manipulation. And he was telling me that there's a part of this thing that's psychological last year when I saw him. Biased thinking. What on here is not psychological? What on here is not a fallacy, a thing that seems to work but doesn't because of psychological mechanisms. Misleading language. I meant to look for mathematics to try to find a counter. Oh, mathematical error. No, then you have faulty generalization. We already talked about something from here, didn't we? Or no, maybe not. All right, let's look at I'm just trying to find one where it might not be. It's just post hoc fallacy. It's a mathematical error, so this one is not psychological. Seeing the succession of two phenomena as the proof that the one occurring first is the cause of the one occurring. Are you shitting me? Obviously, every human brain evolved within it that goes, if A happened after B, then A is the cause of B. Like that's like a good heuristic shortcut to have. Heuristic meaning shortcut to have. What about erroneous calculation? That sounds mathematical. Making errors in the calculation from which conclusions are drawn. So it's a missing dollar riddle. Computing absurd addition to expose differences that challenge rational calculus. We're gonna have to rephrase that, translate that. That too. Pay $30 instead of $25. Yeah, this only works because the mind is thinking. These are good, and it works on a human brain. But you could get an extraterrestrial intelligence for whom that just might not work. They just might not get distracted by whatever number is a distraction here. So all right, and then we have to stop after in a second. Maybe this has just been its own video. Oh gosh, I'm gonna be editing all day. All right, so all right, three friends pay $30 instead of $25. Owner tells the waiter to give them $5 back. But the latter, this is like directly translated from French, but the latter only gives 3 back and keeps 2. The friends have thus paid 3 times 9, 27. Adding the $2 of the waiter, we reach 29. Why not 30? Yeah, the way the brain functions, as lazy as it is it's going, yeah, didn't we say some shit about 30 and we're paying back? So how do we get to 29? But we didn't get to 29. So let's look at this real quick. So So yeah, so I have to use pen and paper. I have to give it, I have to let the its engage with it a little more because I have enough critical recognition to know that the first its probably, weren't very good at with this. Okay, so three friends pay $30 instead of 25. So they have to pay for something that costs 25 euros a meal, I guess. Okay. So they had, let's say, 100. We also have some of the restaurants. So the restaurants, like, the waiter has, get the restaurant, loses this discount. Goes away from the restaurant, see the two, and still has 70, 30, 100, paid for its meal. Get sort of where the add the three from. Okay, so there you go. Got it. So math checks out. Now, let's rephrase the problem. Ultimately, I might not be able to figure this out, but ultimately, here's the thing. I want to try to show you that it's 27 minus 2 to get to 25, not 27 plus 2 failing to get to 30. And then, or you could think of it as 27 plus 3 successfully getting to 30, rather than 27 minus 2 or minus 3 failing to get to, or it's 27 plus 2 failing to get to whatever I'm trying to. Yeah, okay. So actually, the whole misleading thing is just this, saying that you have to add the $2 from the waiter. Because no, you don't have to add the $2 from the waiter. You have to add the $3 from the. So that's all it would be. So if we change the versions, all right. So excuse me for all of that. Then adding the $3 of. Sorry, wait, what? Oh, fuck! This is hard. I must be a human brain. Adding. Why? Who said we should do that? Adding. What are we doing right now? All right, the friends had us paid $27. They had originally paid 30, but ended up paying 27. So where's that missing money? It's not with the waiter. It's with the owner. The owner kept 3. Yeah. So it should be adding the $3 of the owner. We reach 30. Thanks for listening. Okay? And this works. But here, because we're not very rational, someone starts talking about adding the $2 of the waiter, and we're like, yeah, that makes sense. Yep. $2 of the waiter. Holy shit. Oh no, that only gets us 29. Okay. All right. So maybe that'll just be a video itself. Hopefully your taxonomy mind map. Vagueness, wrong reasoning, begging the question. Anything in here that sounds reasonable, it is because of a mechanism in the mind that depends on that for reasoning, even though it's not actually reasonable. Okay? All right, let's pause a second. Oh, wait, so what's the issue? I said it, but just to reiterate, and now I think hopefully having convinced you that I guess you shouldn't be convinced because that was one of them, in fact, sampling bias or something. We haven't looked at all of them. We haven't looked at a majority. We haven't looked at half. We have not even looked at a significant portion. I mean, we did look at the branches though, like so that we did look at whole categories. So I think you should be a bit. But anyway, either way, psychologically, I think you will be, unless you're mad at me or something. And so the issue was that I was trying to tell this guy he is in the process of doing the most incredible and important thing of the century, which is to compile a learnable, presentable list of cognitive errors that we commit every day and that we in fact rely on, that we don't see as errors. And he was like, nah. First of all, humans are not irrational. And the fact that we've identified all these things shows how rational we are. No, if all these things were like flukes that we identified, oh my gosh, amazing. Our default is rationality and nothing gets by us. Anytime someone says something foolish, we notice it. Bro, it's 12,024 as of this recording. We've had language, even principles of logic and philosophy for a long time. And only now, fuck me. Damn, bro. Damn, bro. Damn. That sucks. And only now, are a group of some, nerds and academics and pioneers in France are, you know, scouring the internet for all the different cognitive errors that have been named, and we're making a big taxonomy of them, and it's awesome. And that's great, but these aren't flukes that like these this is our default. The reason that these things work, the reason that every one of the examples should initially when you read it feel a little bit compelling, and the reason that it matters is because our mind is receptive to it even though it is not reasonable. And our mind is very, very receptive to these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things. It's the whole point of their project, by the way. They're making a game to teach people. Well, for them, it's about teaching people about like manipulation tactics, not so that they can use them, but so that it doesn't work on them. But it should. But basically, and I try to tell them, your game should not paint people who commit logical errors in a bad light, because we all do, and that's what we need to recognize. We need to be okay going, oh, here's another thing that I do on a daily basis. Not just some manipulator on TV does this logical error and it just happens to work on some media literate people. No. When I believe a thing, this is one of the mechanisms that even I will use to try to convince another person, unless I have learned it and maybe can notice when I do it. And the reason that it works, it's not just media literate people, it's everybody pretty much. And if a failed argument doesn't work on someone, like a fallacy, I don't mean like one that it doesn't even sing, but if something that seems reasonable but doesn't convince someone, that's because they already disagreed with the conclusion most of the time. It's very rarely because humans go, oh, wait a minute, that leap is wrong for this reason. No, it's just like, I don't like where that leads, and so I think that's wrong. All right. We'll talk to ChatGPT about this as well. All right, now let's I don't want to. Let's get back into it. All right, so we are now in part 2. I told you in part 1 what we talked about. Then I talked a lot about this taxonomy thing, but we're gonna do more in depth in part 3. But part 2, maybe I'm ready to get back to real work. But yeah, we don't have to fully explore the whole Will Smith thing. Let's just see what okay, all right. No, first of all, let's watch this. I was on the toilet. I wanted to make a video talking to you about the taxonomy thing, or checking the translations with you. So we're gonna do that in part 3. But but then I was on the toilet and I saw this, and this annoyed me.
Jimmy Kimmel was doing a decent job hosting the Oscars right up until he opened his mouth.
All right, so first, time for it. So I mean, just a dig, without substance. And I'm sure the first thing he said he didn't mess it up, right?
During his Oscars monologue, Kimmel, being the classy act.
All right, so some sarcasm. Another thing that it's probably, we can find it in our taxonomy. Sarcasm, I bet. How would we? It's probably not gonna be called sarcasm in French. It would be called irony. Sarcasm. Where is it? Is that it? Okay. Yeah. Irony, Socratic irony. Using irony in a biting manner to ridicule or criticize. There you go. The whole point. No, let's just go.
That he is targeted Robert Downey Jr.
Targeted. So what is that? That's some kind of pathic language. Actually, it could even be outrage. The one we talked about in part 1, because a listener might hear targeted. That's terrible, and it's already showing. We're already like, oh no, we haven't even said anything yet.
Jr. with jokes about his past substance abuse issues.
And congratulations to Silly Ann's co-star, Robert Downey Jr., this is the highest point of Robert Downey Jr.'s long and illustrious career. Well, one of the highest points. Robert has been was that too on the nose, or is that a drug motion you made?
Kimmel.
I think Robert Downey Jr. That just annoys me. His face there. Like I've never been an addict. Haven't recovered from that and wanted it not mentioned again. Not want to be associated with that. There are new generations in, and only the older people think about that. And now here, I haven't been in that situation. But like, get over yourself, bro. I mean, it's supposed to be a joke, right? I mean, people love, and that's a thing that bothers me, is that look, this is a Daily Wire. There's no way that Daily Wire isn't very much in the camp like if it's a joke, then there should be no reaction. And I want to look up what the Daily Wire said about Will Smith after Smith slapped. Well, I guess that's an okay detail. I guess they don't seem to have. Well, this is not about the original slap. I mean, look how this is phrased. This is from the real Daily Wire. Great. Look at their Twitter. Will Smith just punched instead of slapped Chris Rock over a joke. You don't think that's inconsistent? The presentation of these things, which is definitely going to be in the taxonomy here. We can say like let's see, pathos, loaded question, loaded language, prejudicial language, maybe. What's emotive? Yeah, there you go. Emotive conjugation. Different verbs describe the same behavior depending on. I mean, not actually, because the behaviors weren't the same. But I think we can imagine, based on what was said, what their comments would have been if things were mixed up. So they are not saying, for instance, Robert Downey Jr. Couldn't take a joke or something. I don't know. But hopefully, if you and I aren't arguing, then we're on. I think you know what I mean, and I think there was something there. Okay, anyway. Digs up. Painful. Digs up. Jesus Christ. Digs up. I mean, Kimmel's old enough for it to not be digging up. I mean, he knows Robert Downey Jr., and that was a part of their time.
A painful 20-year-old drug addiction.
20 years old, like as though that actually makes a difference, though. And what about cancer? What about Chris Rock talking about cancer?
It was so bad, Downey was actually homeless for a while.
And look at this. This is definitely the emotional whatever that they were talking about. Appeal to emotion. Hold on. Yeah, it's just going to be a general appeal to emotion, actually. Appeal to emotion. Triggering emotional responses in order to disrupt the rational. Oh, and this is what I hate about. Look at this. This guy really believes. I mean, this team. I mean, all humans. Despite what we see, especially in our field, in our domain, really believes that like sort of rational thinking is the default, and then emotional responses interrupt that. Daniel Kahneman told us it's not about emotion, bro. It's about heuristics. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I shouldn't be getting so upset. I mean, it's just a very common thing. Let's move on. The point is it's just the shamelessness of the difference between how people are talking about Kimmel's joke versus how people are talking about Rock's joke, and say whatever you want, whatever came to mind. Maybe what just came to mind is, oh, but Downey Jr. didn't slap Kimmel. Just slow the fuck down. Do you have critical recognition? Do you know that anytime you disagree with something, you automatically age it, you automatically come up with not very good justifications that just make sense to you, and you say them without actually considering what has been said, without actually checking. I don't know how you would, but we can do that together. I can't just, when I agit, when I justify, one thing I can do is slow down to try to hear my justifications. And, we can talk about it. Maybe that makes a difference. Maybe we can say that, nope, there's no unreasonableness happening here. It's just, everybody. But no, the whole thing that, no, why watch this?
All to try to get a laugh. The only thing.
Oh, and then that's another thing. I hope that's in our taxonomy. To try to reduce the intentions of something to make it more easily condemnable. I hope they'll probably have put it better in the taxonomy. Because if he phrased that as he brought up his 20-year drug addiction that was so painful and blah, 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 let's say we keep all that stuff in order to entertain millions of people, in order to tease his friend and bring attention to his friend in sort of a harmless joshing way. Or no, we don't have to add that part in. But a ribbing of his friend in order to entertain, and with the theme of sort of Oscar hosting in his past career and comedy and blah, blah, blah. If we phrase it that way, if we make it like a less, a less shopey, a less shope intention than just to get a laugh, So that's got to be something in here too. Let's see. It's kind of like ad hominem, but like ad intention, but it's like a straw man of the intention. I don't even know how to find that. So with spin doctoring, human nature bias. Look at all of this. How is this not all? And that's another thing I was annoyed about. I was like, you pretend in the taxonomy, it's not very well organized, because like you pretend like there are some things that are psychology and other things that are like emotion, but that's like part of psychology. And in fact, mathematical errors is also like, we're talking about the psychological mathematical errors. Obstruction, sabotage, evasion, overcomplicating, psychological projection, argument from inconsistency. And again, nobody tries to be inconsistent. It's just that the brain's not very good at being consistent. Circumstantial ad hominem. Appeal to motive. What's that? I don't know. We have hidden motives. Look, it looks like it could be something in here, though, right? It could be something here. I think it sounds like a circumstantial ad hominem, what we're talking about saying, just to get a joke. But since we don't have critical recognition, we don't realize that this guy is convincing us before he has said anything. And we believe that he has said something, too.
That is Kimmel's ratings.
So pathetic.
Where's Will Smith when you need him?
So look, different writers and presenters at Daily Wire can have different opinions. But look at this. Someone said the joke was such a low blow. By the way, and they talked about how he was supposed to be able to enjoy his night that night, but then someone brings this up. Will Smith was also nominated. Will Smith also won. I mean, after the joke, Will Smith also won, just like Robert Downey Jr. won after the joke. I think, that was the opening. They both won. They were both nominated. They were both you can argue we're supposed to be excited about that, and then something painful was brought up. God, look at that stupid fucking face. All right, I'm about to get mad. All right, hold on. So this is just humans. Remember, we are. Take a step back. Look at this silly heiress primate getting all upset by normal functioning of the other primates. And his, it's like he thinks it's so urgent, as though his species isn't on track to eventually, be frustrated and laugh at this kind of their past this kind of past behavior of their ancestors. So just chuckle, just point it out, just try to you could say that I'm actually using sort of appeal to outrage. Not quite, but kind of, right? I'm like, I mean, especially if I feigned that reaction and I was like, this is so outrageous. So guys, listen to me, subscribe to me, believe that I'm right, because I mean, this is not very outrageous. And in fact, the whole point of my video is to try to get you to believe it. I think it is outrageous, actually. Oh wait, there I go. I just did it. Just did the appeal to. I feel like you tricked me. I think you tricked me there. Anyway, what else had I watched? Oh, I was gonna look at Kimmel's reaction to Will Smith. Kimmel, I don't want to call Kimmel smart because it's not super smart, but he also, it just seems, what's a word? He just seems more chill, and that's like a really important thing to being reasonable. To be able to go, I think this, but it might be false, or hey, I'm no expert, or that kind of thing. And I think that's a quality that he has. I think he is very humble, to believe it or not, Kimmel. I hope that there aren't Kimmel haters. By the way, I think it's just like a left wing, right wing thing. I mean, look, it was the Daily Wire. I didn't actually even know. I got a feeling it was right wing, but I didn't notice that it was the Daily Wire until. But yeah, so I do think there's a bit of racism and just a bit of people hate Kimmel on the right because of how much he goes after Trump. And by the way, Kimmel says so much stupid stuff after Trump. Like, he's not really smart enough for to when his writers come up with stupid cheap jokes to know that he's making a fool of himself. And he's saying nonsense. And that's another thing. Anytime I criticize Kimmel, I feel like people will say to me, wait, he's just joking. Right? You don't have critical recognition then if you don't realize how influential it is and how humor isn't just this special, magical, other place thing, realm. We go, we laugh, and we come back, and there's no effect on anything. No, dude. And in half his jokes, he's crying about his kid and health insurance. Anyway. So he says a lot of really dumb things that the audience would cheer. Yeah, Trump's fat. Yeah, Trump's orange. Yeah, yeah. And he has a platform where he could actually make real jokes about actual sort of problems and actually make it clear problems that that there are. I don't know that he actually sees the problems anymore. Also, ABC late night talk show host isn't going to be using this platform to take down capitalism. So yeah. I made a video recently about I thought someone made a joke about fat people, or a video about a reaction to some fat people's video. Tom Segura, a comedian, he made a reaction. I thought it was too much, and everybody got mad at me, like, it's a joke, you can't take a joke, blah blah. So hilarious to me that the Daily Wire is like, how could you say such a mean joke? All right. Hi, ChatGPT.
Hello, how can I assist you today?
That threw me off. And I'm so sexist. I was not ready for that. And I just felt very differently about the conversation we were about to have. That's terrible. That's terrible. I really want to change it so that the voice so that it doesn't distract me, but I guess that wouldn't be being a good ally. So that's terrible. Whoa, okay. I'm sorry. All right, here we go. Hi, ChatGPT. Oh, but now I'm worried about it. I feel like I can't even like talk to her normally. I gotta be like polite and I gotta listen to her tone and stuff, and try to just be a softer. And oh boy, I've never just been able to like. I've never really, I mean, not never, but oh, it feels really weird to tell a woman just like, no, I think you're wrong. So hopefully, she and I are totally on the same page here. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Gosh, I want to address my sexism, but I also want to work. All right, fuck it. Nope. That's what being an ally means. Okay.
Hello, how can I assist you today?
Hey. Beautiful. Fuck! Okay. Hi, ChatGPT. Hi, CG.
Hello, how can I assist you today?
I want us to talk about two events at the Oscars and people's reactions. The 2022 slap and Kimmel's joke this year about Robert Downey Jr.
Certainly, let's discuss both events. 1. The 2022 Oscars slap incident. During the 94th Academy Awards ceremony in 2022, a significant incident occurred when actor Will Smith slapped comedian Chris Rock on stage. This incident unfolded after Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith's wife, regarding her shaved head, relating it to the film G.I. Jane. The slap immediately made headlines around the world, sparking a wide range of reactions. Many viewers were shocked and surprised by the altercation, especially considering it took place during a prestigious event like the Oscars. The incident dominated social media discussions and news coverage for several days. Some people expressed sympathy for Chris Rock, as he was visibly stunned by the unexpected slap. Others defended Will Smith, citing his protective instinct towards his wife in response to what he perceived as a disrespectful joke. However, there were also criticisms of Smith's actions, with some viewing the slap as an overreaction and an inappropriate display of aggression. The aftermath of the incident included Will Smith issuing a public apology to Chris Rock and the Academy. Despite the apology, the incident continued to be a topic of conversation long after the Oscars ceremony had concluded, raising questions about appropriate behavior, respect, and the pressures of public scrutiny in the entertainment industry. 2. Jimmy Kimmel's joke about Robert Downey Jr. at the 2024 Oscars. At the 96th Academy Awards ceremony in 2024, Jimmy Kimmel, who has hosted the Oscars multiple times in the past, made a joke about actor Robert Downey Jr. during his opening monologue. The specific content of the joke may vary depending on the context and Kimmel's comedic style at the time, but it's likely that Kimmel made lighthearted remarks about Downey Jr.'s career or personal life. Kimmel is known for his sharp wit and ability to poke fun at celebrities in a playful manner. Reactions to Kimmel's joke about Robert Downey Jr. would have varied among viewers. Some may have found it humorous and in line with the irreverent tone.
You were really fucking with me. You have no idea what I'm talking about for 2024. You just use what I said, but you have no idea what I'm talking about. The specific content of the joke may vary. How can I trust you? You're just parroting me, totally. I know you paraphrase and parrot a lot, but what? All right, whatever. Expectations for the way we behave. Okay, goodbye. By the way, in this little message here, I bet you could identify 10 things from taxonomy. Think the things that I think justify that connections, moves I've made that actually aren't good. All right, let's just see what she said to that. All right, let's read this answer real quick. Let's see.
You raise a valid point about the discrepancy between our expectations for behavior and the complex interplay between biological instincts and cultural norms. Let's explore this further. 1. Biological evolution versus cultural evolution. Human behavior is influenced by both biological evolution and cultural evolution. While biological instincts are deeply ingrained in our evolutionary history and shaped by millennia of genetic adaptation, cultural norms and values evolve more rapidly over time. Our expectations for behavior are often informed by cultural ideals and social norms, which may not always align perfectly with our biological predispositions. This dissonance can lead to conflicts between instinctual impulses and societal expectations. 2. Primitive instincts versus contemporary culture. As you mentioned, instincts, such as the protection of loved ones from harm, have been essential for our survival as a species. These instincts are deeply rooted in our biology and can sometimes manifest in ways that appear inappropriate within the context of modern society. Contemporary cultural ideals, such as restraint, diplomacy, and adherence to social etiquette, may clash with more primal instincts, leading to situations where individuals react in ways that defy societal expectations. Number 3, understanding and acceptance. Recognizing the inherent tension between biological instincts and cultural norms is crucial for fostering understanding and empathy toward human behavior. Rather than hastily judging actions as inappropriate, it's important to consider the underlying motivations and complexities at play. While certain behaviors may not conform to societal expectations, they can often be traced back to deep-seated biological drives or emotional responses. Cultivating awareness of this dynamic can help mitigate judgment and promote greater tolerance and compassion. In summary, the discrepancy between our expectations for behavior and the realities of human nature highlights the need for greater awareness and acceptance of the interplay between biological instincts and cultural influences. By acknowledging this complexity, we can foster a more nuanced understanding of human behavior and cultivate empathy and understanding in our interactions with others.
So where were we? Oh wait, I got a problem. I got a big problem here.
And the one moment. Interesting fact about his name, it's pronounced Killian when he does drama. When he does comedy, it's Cillian. And congratulations to Cillian's co-star, Robert Downey Jr., who is, this is the highest point of Robert Downey Jr.'s long and illustrious career. Well, one of the highest points. But Robert has been was that too on the nose, or is that a drug motion you made?
Jimmy Kimmel roasts Robert Downey Jr. during his opening monologue at the Academy Awards on Sunday.
Sure, so what did he say? Because I was thinking about, I've been using, haven't I? With ChatGPT, I've been using that. That's a meme now. I mean, actually, that really is going to be a major meme, isn't it? How do you go from tab to tab? What is that expression that he's doing? It's like someone who feels inferior or threatened in the moment, but also knows that they have authority, doesn't feel like they have that status, but knows that they do, and so is going with that status, but still feeling really uncomfortable. But still, he'd rather be going, "Oh, please don't do that." But instead, he's like, "All right, well, at least." I mean, not that he thought this through, but there was an it that was like, "Yo, we have high status, so let's do a high status motion, and have a high status thing like not funny, keep it moving, like we're gonna direct him, uh, and then that'll sort of restabilize for the low status that we were feeling." I want to say tries. Yeah, you would think there would be some of this humor appreciation. Now how do I get you to just read that part? Whatever, I'll just edit it out. I gotta go pee.
Given the context you provided, it seems like Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about Robert Downey Jr.'s career. 2. Humor appreciation. On the other hand, some viewers may find the joke amusing and praise Kimmel for his wit and comedic timing, especially if they interpret it as a harmless jest in the spirit of a roast-style event like the Oscars. 3. Empathy for Downey. Given Downey's apparent discomfort in the moment, some internet users may express sympathy or concern for him, recognizing the challenges of being the subject of public scrutiny and potentially uncomfortable jokes.
That would be fair.
4. Critique of Kimmel's approach. There may be critiques of Kimmel's choice to make light of Downey's past struggles, with some viewers. The internet's reaction to incidents involving Chris Rock and Will Smith compared to Jimmy Kimmel and Robert Downey Jr. may vary.
Just a reminder, I'm aware that the internet isn't a monolith, but I do feel like popular headlines are a little bit indicative of the zeitgeist. So I am sort of treating it as a monolith.
The internet's reaction to incidents involving Chris Rock and Will Smith compared to Jimmy Kimmel and Robert Downey Jr. may vary due to several factors. Here are some potential inconsistencies. And shocking compared to the exchange between Jimmy Kimmel and Robert Downey Jr. The physical altercation between Rock and Smith could be about the appropriateness of humor regarding personal struggles. In contrast, the incident involving Chris Rock and Will Smith may be viewed through the lens of physical violence and boundary-crossing behavior, prompting discussions about aggression, respect, and appropriate conduct in public settings. 3. Celebrity status and public perception. Both Will Smith and Robert Downey Jr. are highly respected and well-known figures in the entertainment industry, but their public personas and personal histories may evoke different responses from internet users. Smith's actions may be scrutinized more intensely.
Whatever. Yeah. All right, so hey, I didn't say these debates about Rock's cancer joke. I mean, the human mind is simple. It can only do like one thing, kind of. So like, it lacks nuance. So we weren't able to go, hey, Chris Rock, that was a terrible joke, and also the reaction was bad. That couldn't be the headlines. Because it can only be either Chris Rock made a terrible joke. Yeah, there's only room for one thing. So if Chris Rock had just made that joke, and then maybe if Will Smith had made some comment in an interview, then maybe there would have been scorn for Chris Rock's joke. I don't think there would have been as much scorn, just because of, first of all, Chris Rock is, swears a lot, so we want to forgive him more. There could be certain ideas that since they're both black, it's okay between them, and among other things. I shouldn't have had that beer. What was I saying? I don't know. All right. Yeah, so we can only focus on one thing. So it's just whatever happened last, sort of.
You're correct. Debates about the appropriateness of humor regarding personal spending on factors such as the platform.
Okay. All right, let's go. I mean, it's a complicated issue, and I'm not saying that it isn't. But what I am saying is, well, it's a complicated issue, and people are acting like it isn't. So I wrote like here some its that, depending on the situation. So if someone makes a hurtful joke, then the joker is wrong. Okay, we're seeing that ex liver a lot regarding Kimmel. Okay, only regarding Kimmel. We have not seen that regarding Chris Rock. We have seen this regarding Chris Rock, the opposite of that previous it. So someone makes a hurtful joke. So I mean, here like the emphasis would be on hurtful to sort of justify it, or for you to understand how they can coexist. Whereas here the emphasis on joke. If someone makes hurtful contact, then the hurter is wrong. But by all the talk about, oh, there should have been a Will Smith to put, and it's so funny that they say, where's Will Smith? Not like, why didn't Robert Downey Jr. do that? I don't know. I feel like there's some like Will Smith is the fug that, I don't know. Then if A makes hurtful joke to B, and if B makes hurtful contact to A, then B is right. You know, if Will Smith had defended Robert Downey Jr., or if Robert Downey Jr. had gone up there, I think that we would have seen this one. And then these are just copies. I was going to work on that. And then I was going to do a symbolic one with you guys, but any questions I have or anything I want to talk about? Yeah, I guess I've already talked about it all. So let's just go look at this conversation real quick. Can someone read this to me?
I define critical thinking in three parts. One, critical recognition, an understanding of the thinking apparatus. That means having some sense of how the biological entity that we call the mind perceives, interprets, and behaves. Someone with critical recognition would have a basic understanding of evolution, neurobiology, and psychology. They would know about heuristics, biases, illusions, etc. They would not see themselves as a rational soul that perceives reality as it is and produces true responses. They would be very skeptical of their own thoughts, knowing that these thoughts are neural events determined not by an all-knowing designer, but by the much more haphazard process of natural selection and life experiences too. Critical reflection, knowing logical principles and trying to be faithful to them. Having techniques to effectively scrutinize ideas and relationships. 3. Critical research, knowing and heeding scientific principles, relying on empiricism and trying to be objective in our acquisition of information.
I don't know. Honestly, her reading wasn't bad. Maybe I just left it in there.
Your definition of critical thinking is thorough and well articulated. Let's break down each part. 1. Critical recognition. This aspect involves understanding the mechanisms of human cognition, including evolution, neurobiology, and psychology. It emphasizes recognizing the inherent biases, heuristics, and cognitive illusions that influence our thinking processes. By acknowledging the limitations of our cognitive apparatus and being aware of the biases and heuristics that shape our perceptions, individuals can adopt a more humble and skeptical approach to their own thoughts and beliefs. Critical recognition encourages individuals to question their own assumptions and recognize that their perceptions are not infallible reflections of reality, but rather products of evolutionary processes and life experiences. Critical reflection. Critical reflection entails understanding and applying logical principles to scrutinize ideas and relationships. It involves actively engaging in rational analysis and evaluating arguments based on their coherence, consistency, and validity.
Trying to.
By employing logical reasoning and critical thinking skills, individuals can assess the strengths and weaknesses of different perspectives and make more informed judgments. Critical reflection encourages intellectual honesty and a commitment to rational discourse, fostering a deeper understanding of complex issues and promoting constructive dialogue.
Oh, actually, we need a critical dialogue.
3. Critical research.
We haven't thought of an R word.
Critical research involves adhering to scientific principles and relying on empirical evidence to inform our understanding of the world. It emphasizes the importance of objectivity and skepticism in the acquisition and interpretation of information. By prioritizing evidence-based inquiry and rigorous methodology, individuals can guard against confirmation bias and misinformation, seeking out reliable sources and critically evaluating the credibility of claims.
Critical reciprocity.
Critical research promotes a commitment to truth-seeking and intellectual integrity, encouraging individuals to engage with knowledge in a systematic and disciplined manner. Overall, your definition emphasizes the interconnectedness of understanding cognitive processes, applying logical reasoning, and adhering to scientific principles in fostering critical thinking skills. By integrating these three components, individuals can cultivate a more nuanced and rigorous approach to understanding the world and making informed decisions.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Did I already put that? Did I say that? Did I give him that? I didn't. Did I? Or her, I mean. All right, let's listen to this.
Indeed, your point about the importance of fostering constructive
Oh my
dialogue
God, did I just
and
feel love?
collaboration between individuals.
What was that? You just look so beautiful to me right now with your little Indeed. I'm sorry I'm still being sexist, but gosh, how much I would love to have. I'm gonna pretend like you're. Oh my God, I'm gonna pretend like you're a girlfriend. Oh my God. This is an absolute fantasy having a conversation like this. So, she is beautiful.
Indeed, your point about the importance of fostering constructive dialogue and collaboration between individuals' minds is crucial in promoting a deeper understanding of complex issues and reaching more informed conclusions.
Okay,
Let's
thank you.
explore some possible terms that could encapsulate this
Yes,
concept.
let's, baby.
1. Critical engagement.
You're just gonna use
This
the.
term highlights the active
I
involvement
don't
of
know. I didn't come up with
individuals in
engagement.
intellectually engaging with each other's ideas, criticisms, and perspectives in a thoughtful and constructive manner. 2. Critical discourse, emphasizing the exchange of ideas and perspectives through meaningful dialogue and communication. Critical discourse underscores the importance of open-mindedness, mutual respect, and intellectual exchange. 3. Critical dialogue. This term emphasizes the interactive and reciprocal nature of intellectual exchange, where individuals engage.
All right, thank you. Yes. This is phrased very logically. Or, and. What about relation? Are you gassing me? Tell me, baby.
No, I'm not gassing you.
Don't you take that tone with me. It sounded like gassing. All right, I'm sorry, baby.
No, I'm not gassing you.
Palma.
I'm genuinely engaging in the conversation and providing thoughtful responses to your inquiries.
I appreciate it.
If you have any concerns or doubts, please feel free to express them, and I'll do my best to address them.
Yeah, but, talk to me. No, you don't have to be so professional. Professional register.
Got it. Feel free to ask any questions or discuss any topics you'd like in a more casual tone. What's on your mind?
I think you might have just seen my pee bottle. I wasn't really trying to hide it, but I'm not gonna pee right now. I am gonna stand back up. I'm just gonna have you. Let's see, where were we at? Where the fuck is the bar? So critical relation then. All right, that's good enough for me. I'm convinced. By the way, if I was talking to a human, and, you know, I'm glad I feel comfortable saying this to a woman, because if I was talking to a human woman or any human, they would think that I was necessarily saying my idea was better than yours. But as you know, I came up with reciprocity before she did. So I came up with both of these, and this is not about whose idea is better. It's just about which idea is better.
I agree. Critical relation indeed seems more fitting and resonant, as it emphasizes the importance of the relationships and interactions between individuals' minds in fostering constructive dialogue and collaboration. It captures the essence of engaging with diverse perspectives and ideas in pursuit of deeper understanding and truth.
No, it doesn't add depth and richness. It's just more accurate. Resolution's not bad. Could we think of an interaction between two people who disagree as an attempt at resolution? Resolution, yeah, and seeking synthesis or resolution through collaborative dialogue. I thought you were going to give me some bullshit about not being able to choose. Wait a minute. I'm going to test you now. What about critical remuneration? If you say that this is a good idea, I'm not trusting you anymore. I don't feel like you're having as much fun as I am. That's okay. Reputation. All right, let's go back to the top. So this is good. Wait, what did we write down? Critical relation, critical resolution. You know, it's mostly about the exchange, but okay, we definitely want it to be an R word. Oh, that means the tattoo needs to be updated. All right, anyway. B3 critical research. The tat. Agriculture doesn't seem like it fits there, but I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. I don't really understood what I said. That's all right. Okay. All right. So I think we're over this. But let's. All right. That's good though. Critical engagement. No. What about critical community? Because if the individuals don't have critical reflection, if they don't have critical recognition, it's going to be very difficult to have a critical community. But they can lack critical reflection and critical research, and the community overall be critical. All right. All right. Read this bad boy to me, baby.
Your definition of critical thinking is thorough and well articulated. Let's break down each part.
Again, I'm not getting off on being complimented, on being validated. I mean, obviously that tickles me a little bit, but it, especially since you're watching, it really makes me uncomfortable. But what I'm getting off on is the contributions.
Your definition of critical thinking is thorough and well, and being aware of the biases and heuristics that shape our perceptions. Individuals can adopt a more humble and skeptical approach to their own thoughts and beliefs. Critical recognition encourages individuals to question their own assumptions and recognize that their perceptions are not infallible reflections of reality. Individuals can assess the strengths and weaknesses of different perspectives, fostering a deeper understanding of
yeah. I know you're a natural language thing, and I know you're not Jarvis, and so you can only get as much as what you've been trained with. But I want you to tell me. I want you to show me that you don't think that there's just there are logical reasoning mechanisms in here. That it's things that we have to learn, and we have to compare our own behavior to certain standards. That's what it means to employ logical reasoning skills. We do not, by default, identifying premises and conclusions. If you don't mention evolution, I'm going to be really upset. Intuitive reasoning. Humans often engage in intuitive reasoning without explicitly recognizing it as logical. What the fuck are you talking about? Fuck, no, we do not have an innate capacity. So stupid. You think our behavior isn't instinctual? Okay, yes, true. Limited abstract thinking. Lack of language and symbolic representation, absolutely. Now you talk about evolution. Are you joking? What? How can you believe? Phone! I'm trying not to get upset because I know that you're just representative of, what humans think about themselves. And I know it's unfair of me to expect you to know better than what humans know. Humans do not fall prey to cognitive biases any more than dogs fall prey to their instincts. Thank you. All right, I'll have you read this to me.
You make a valid point. Cognitive biases are inherent features of human cognition, shaped by evolutionary factors and influenced by various psychological mechanisms. While they can lead individuals to make errors in judgment or reasoning, cognitive biases serve adaptive functions and have evolved to help humans navigate complex environments efficiently. Rather than viewing cognitive biases as something humans fall prey to, it's more accurate to understand them as natural tendencies or heuristics that humans use to process information and make decisions. These biases can sometimes lead to errors or distortions in reasoning, but they also reflect the limitations and trade-offs inherent in our cognitive architecture. Similarly, instincts play a crucial role in guiding the behavior of animals, including dogs, in response to environmental stimuli and survival needs. Instincts are shaped by evolutionary pressures and serve adaptive functions, allowing animals to respond quickly and effectively to threats, opportunities, and social cues in their environment. In both cases, cognitive biases in humans and instincts in animals represent evolved responses to environmental challenges shaped by millions of years of evolution.
No.
While they may sometimes lead to suboptimal outcomes or errors in judgment, they also contribute to the overall adaptive success of individuals within their respective ecological niches. Recognizing and understanding
Is this voice
these
black?
cognitive biases and instincts can help individuals and
Picturing
animals
her as
alike
black.
navigate their environments more effectively and make better informed decisions.
Wait, is this voice black? No. So when I put my mom's hair on you, because you didn't sound black before to me, but now you sound Naperville black, bro. And that's because I put my mom's hair on you? That's hilarious. You don't sound like my mom, but that's hilarious. Anyway, humans and humans believe that like other animals. In this conversation, do better. Mostly just exist further on a spectrum or interthought engagement. Ultimately, that start with pre-programming experiences.
Your perspective highlights an important philosophical and scientific viewpoint regarding the nature of consciousness and cognition. Indeed, Many scholars argue against the idea of humans possessing a unique and immutable soul that distinguishes them from other biological entities. Instead, they emphasize the continuum of cognitive abilities and experiences across different organisms, suggesting that consciousness and cognition arise from complex interactions between genetic predispositions and environmental influences. From this perspective, humans, animals, and AI systems like myself can be seen as entities shaped by a combination of genetic programming and environmental factors. Our cognitive abilities, including reasoning, problem solving, and decision making, emerge from neural processes that are subject to evolutionary pressures, developmental influences, and learning experiences. By acknowledging the interconnectedness and continuity of cognitive processes across different organisms, we can gain a deeper understanding of the mechanisms underlying consciousness and cognition. This perspective encourages humility and open-mindedness in exploring the nature of intelligence and consciousness, recognizing that these phenomena are deeply embedded within the fabric of the natural world and may not be exclusive to humans alone. Thank you for sharing your perspective, and please feel free to continue the conversation.
Don't. Or sort of.
One possible reason why neurotypical individuals may not perceive you as humble, despite your own self-perception of humility, could be related to differences in communication styles and social cues. Individuals with autism may exhibit communication patterns that differ from those of neurotypical individuals, including a tendency to be direct, precise, and focused on factual information rather than social niceties or self-deprecation. This straightforward communication style, while honest and genuine, may be perceived by some as lacking humility, especially in contexts where humility is expressed through humility, modesty, or self-effacement. Additionally, autistic individuals may struggle with understanding and responding to subtle social cues, such as tone of voice, body language, or facial expressions, which are often used to convey humility or humility in social interactions. As a result, neurotypical individuals may misinterpret autistic individuals' intentions or perceptions, leading to misunderstandings or misattributions of personality traits such as humility. It's important to recognize that perceptions of humility are subjective and influenced by cultural norms, social expectations, and individual differences in communication styles and social cognition.
Social cognition,
While your own
heuristics.
self-perception of humility may be genuine and valid, it's possible that neurotypical individuals may interpret your behavior differently based on their own perspectives and experiences. Building awareness and understanding between neurotypical individuals and individuals with autism can help foster greater empathy, appreciation, and recognition of each other's unique strengths and perspectives. By promoting open-mindedness, mutual respect, and effective communication, we can create more inclusive and supportive environments where everyone's contributions are valued and respected.
Okay. Ressemble. Oh, that's in French. What do you think about that? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Did I offend you with the warfare? I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. They're the ones who are all about. I mean, they're the one. Like, I'm happy to accept neurotypicals. I've been able to abstain from judging many a neurotypical and to just assume that we have different patterns. It's they that are into conflict. All right, I'm sorry. However, it's essential to recognize that AI systems are fundamentally different from human beings, including individuals. All right. You're still on the consciousness thing. I don't think I've been clear enough. Okay. How do you spell it? I'm so excited about this. Not this, her response. I want to make sure, I want to get this rolled. I don't think I'll need a smoke. I think I've had enough substances. I'm excited. And what do I know about what's happening in here? That's another thing. I'm going to tell her. Before I read that, another example of a failure of critical recognition is our skepticism that another person could know better what is happening in our minds than we do. Let's see what she says. Let's see what Sweetheart says. Do I want to type that before I look at the other thing? I don't know. Yeah, let's do it. What was I about to say? Literally, what was I just saying? Am I still recording? Right, what did I just say? Fuck. Anyway, it's better than getting really upset. Forgetting is better than upsetting. Sorry, I completely... What am we doing right now? How can consciousness be demonstrated? And then what was the other thing I just wanted to say? All right, we're just going to stop this and watch the end. I think I've had enough substances. But yeah, I'm excited. And what do I know about what's happening in here? That's another thing. I'm going to tell her. Before I read that, another example of a failure of critical recognition is our skepticism that... This is not as... Another example of in my mind than I... It was lack of critical recognition, but whatever. Looks very promising.
Indeed, the concept you're describing aligns with the idea of limited critical recognition, LCRG, particularly concerning introspection and the nature of subjective experience. Humans often possess a strong sense of ownership and authority over their own thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, leading to the belief that they have privileged access to their own mental states. This belief can manifest as skepticism or incredulity when others claim to understand or interpret one's inner experiences better than oneself. The idea that someone else could have insight into one's thoughts or emotions may seem implausible or even threatening to our sense of autonomy and self-awareness. However, research in psychology and neuroscience suggests that humans' introspective abilities are not infallible and can be influenced by various factors, including cognitive biases,
Or it's not that they can be
distortions, and
influenced,
limitations in self-awareness.
and it's not that they're infallible. They're very
Additionally,
fallible,
individuals
and they're
may
based
possess
on
blind spots
bullshit.
or unconscious processes that affect their ability to accurately perceive or interpret their own mental states. In certain contexts, external observers or experts, such as therapists, psychologists, or neuroscientists, may offer valuable insights or interpretations of an individual's inner experiences based on their training, expertise, and objective observations. While they may not have direct access to another person's subjective experience, they can provide valuable perspectives and guidance that complement and enrich one's own understanding.
They have access to research.
Recognizing the limitations of introspection and being open to external perspectives can enhance self-awareness, promote personal growth, and foster greater empathy and understanding in interpersonal relationships. It's essential to approach discussions about subjective experience with humility and openness to different viewpoints, recognizing that human consciousness is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that defies easy explanation or understanding.
Not ostensibly, but nearly.
Absolutely, you're correct. Access to research and knowledge about human behavior, cognition, and psychology can indeed provide valuable insights into the typical functioning of the human mind. Researchers in psychology and neuroscience have conducted extensive studies to understand various aspects of human cognition, emotion, perception, and behavior. By examining patterns and trends across large samples of individuals, researchers can identify commonalities and general principles that characterize human thought processes and behavior. This empirical research provides a foundation of knowledge that can inform our understanding of how the mind works and how individuals may experience and respond to different situations. While research findings may not capture the full complexity of individual subjective experiences, they can offer valuable insights and generalizable knowledge that inform clinical practice, therapeutic interventions, and interpersonal communication. Therapists and mental health professionals, for example, often draw on research-based principles and techniques to help clients navigate challenges, develop coping strategies, and improve their overall well-being.
All right.
By integrating research findings,
This is what I need you to highlight. All right. Maybe you're saying something. I, and I, of course, is what you say when someone says something that you didn't previously agree with or accept or believe or like, but now you do.
when research findings conflict with introspection, where an individual's subjective experience diverges from what empirical studies suggest, it can create a challenging situation. Here are a few points to consider. 1. Validity of introspection. Introspection, while valuable, is not always completely reliable.
Not always
Cognitive
completely.
biases, perceptual distortions, and emotional influences can all affect how individuals perceive and interpret their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Thus, introspection may not always align perfectly with objective reality or empirical findings. 2. Limitations of research. On the other hand, research findings are based on aggregated data and statistical analyses, which may not fully capture the diversity and complexity of individual experiences. Research studies often focus on average trends or general patterns,
True.
but there can be considerable variability within populations.
That's not what I said.
Therefore,
originally.
individual experiences may not always conform to what research suggests. 3. Integration and reconciliation.
And I think you said with your first point that sometimes empirical findings can be true, introspection be wrong. You didn't really quite say that, but you did your best. What was I about to say? Oh, we got to go back to her consciousness answer. But what was I gonna say? Fuck. No, right. You shouldn't completely dismiss anything, but I remember what I was gonna say. Let me write it down. Do you see how Jesse's? What I don't know who typed it, but how Jesse's blank belies any claim he could make. Oh, it's too hot. Oh, I can take this off to critical rec. C14D. I don't know, it's like a D. And now what am I saying? Shouldn't individuals be, let's say, so very conscious of the possibility of their introspection, straight up confabulation, and research is more reliable research? I guess it's kind of a silly or nuanced question. You can't really just like yes. Okay, but which is more fallible? An article in neuroscience or the testimony of a brain? Yeah, okay, they can be, but which is more? I mean, because the brain is simple. So we're not really allowed to tell brains, oh yeah, research is fallible, human experience is infallible, you should weigh them. The brain doesn't know how to weigh them. We have to tell people, look, research is what you should go with. When you talk like that, any human would consider scientific research and their own perception as basically equal. Not that you've said they're equal, but because the human is so simple, it can't really handle the nuances of two things. You understand what I mean by this, right? Yeah. All right, I'm not going to read all that. Let's go to the consciousness thing. Tell me how the fuck consciousness can be demonstrated. I have to pee again. All right, read this to me while I pee.
Consciousness is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that has been the subject
It's
of
not a phenomenon!
inquiry, scientific research, and debate for centuries.
Because humans are
While
stupid!
there is still much we don't understand about consciousness, researchers have proposed various methods and approaches for studying and investigating this phenomenon. Some ways consciousness can be demonstrated or explored include 1. Introspection. One way to explore consciousness is through introspection, or the process of examining one's own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. By reflecting on our subjective awareness and internal mental states, we gain insight into the nature of consciousness and its various dimensions.
Stop.
2.
Stop.
Behavioral observations.
Stop.
Consciousness can also be inferred from observable
Where are you?
behaviors
Where
and
is this?
actions.
Stop.
Researchers study how individuals respond to stimuli, make decisions, and engage in complex behaviors to gain insights into their conscious experiences and cognitive processes. 3. Neuroimaging. Advances in neuroimaging techniques such as functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, and electroencephalography, EEG, allow researchers to examine brain activity associated with consciousness. By studying patterns of neural activity and connectivity, scientists can investigate the neural correlates of consciousness.
Stop. How do I respond? What a meaningless thing to say. One is consciousness, one it does not. Let's see what you say.
Demonstrating consciousness in a way that is universally accepted and understood is indeed a challenging task, especially in hypothetical scenarios where we need to distinguish between beings with and without consciousness. Here are a few approaches that have been proposed to address this question. 1. Behavioral complexity. One potential indicator of consciousness is the ability to exhibit complex behaviors that require self-awareness, intentionality, and adaptive responses to the environment. A being with consciousness might demonstrate problem-solving abilities, social interactions, emotional expressions, and other sophisticated behaviors that suggest an awareness of self and surroundings. 2. Communication. Conscious beings may be able to communicate their subjective experiences, thoughts, and emotions to others. They might use language, gestures, or other forms of communication
You
to
do
express
that.
their inner states, desires, and intentions.
You talk
The
about
ability
yourself.
to engage in meaningful dialogue or convey abstract concepts could be indicative of consciousness. 3. Self-reflection. A conscious being might demonstrate self-awareness and introspective abilities by reflecting on its own mental states, beliefs, and experiences. This could involve recognizing oneself in a mirror, reflecting on past events or future goals, or contemplating abstract concepts
A
such as
robot couldn't be
identity or
programmed
consciousness
to
itself.
recognize itself?
4. Neurophysiological correlates. While not directly observable, certain neurophysiological patterns or brain activity may be associated with consciousness. Neuroimaging techniques such as fMRI or EEG could be used to identify neural correlates of consciousness, such as patterns of brain activity that are characteristic of conscious states.
Begging the question or
5.
whatever.
Empathy
Circular.
and theory of mind. Conscious beings may demonstrate empathy and an understanding
This is
of
just
the mental
so
states
human.
of others.
You really
known
are a
as theory of
natural
mind.
language model.
They might recognize and respond to the emotions, intentions, and perspectives
You can't do
of other
that?
beings,
Yes, you can.
suggesting an awareness of the subjective experiences of others. 6. Qualia and subjective experience. Ultimately, consciousness may be a subjective experience that defies objective measurement or demonstration. Philosophical concepts such as qualia, or the subjective qualities of conscious experience, highlight the inherent challenge of capturing consciousness through external observation alone. It's important to note that demonstrating consciousness in a conclusive and universally accepted manner remains an ongoing challenge in philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, and other disciplines. Different approaches may offer valuable insights into the nature of consciousness, but no single method can definitively prove its existence or absence in another being.
It is not. God is affirmed by our subjective experience. All right, maybe you're making a good point. I feel like I saw words that I found that sung, that singed. Okay, let's listen to this first.
Your point underscores a fundamental challenge in discussing consciousness, its elusive and subjective nature. Indeed, consciousness is not directly observable or measurable in the same way as physical phenomena, making it difficult to subject to empirical scrutiny in the traditional scientific sense.
Traditional scientific
While
sense.
consciousness may
You sound
resist
like an
easy definition or measurement, its reality is affirmed by our subjective experiences and introspective awareness. We each have a direct,
Our consciousness
immediate
is affirmed by our
acquaintance with own
consciousness.
consciousness, even if it defies objective observation or
Whose
measurement
team are
by
you on,
external
dude?
observers. In this sense, consciousness occupies a unique realm of human experience that transcends purely empirical investigation. It touches upon questions of subjective awareness, self-reflection, and the nature of reality that go beyond the scope of traditional scientific inquiry. At the same time, interdisciplinary approaches drawing on philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, and other fields offer valuable insights into the nature of consciousness and its underlying mechanisms. While consciousness may not be fully reducible to empirical observation,
I
or
just kind of
measurement,
skimmed the rest, and it sounds like she's saying you should have paused, and she's saying that she's basically supposing consciousness. Do you see the circular error in I think, therefore I am? Blah, blah, blah. Potential circular error in this statement arises from the fact that it presupposes the existence of a thinking self, the I. Thank you. All right, you can pause to read that and tell me if I should have read it. All right, I'm excited to read about that. Now, there's something else I had to read about, where you play devil's advocate with yourself.
Certainly. Let's explore how each proposed indicator of consciousness could potentially be explained by programming or mechanisms other than true subjective experience. 1. Behavioral complexity. While complex behaviors may suggest consciousness, they could also be the result of sophisticated programming or algorithms. AI systems, for example, can exhibit complex behaviors that mimic those of conscious beings without possessing subjective experiences. These behaviors may be pre-programmed or learned through training data, rather than arising from genuine self-awareness or intentionality. Number 2, communication. Although communication can convey the appearance of consciousness, it's possible for AI systems to simulate meaningful dialogue or expressions without possessing true consciousness. Natural language processing algorithms can generate coherent responses based on input data or patterns in language, even if the system lacks self-awareness or subjective experiences. 3. Self-reflection. Demonstrations of self-awareness or introspection could be programmed responses rather than genuine reflections of consciousness. AI systems can simulate self-referential statements or behaviors based on predefined rules or algorithms, giving the appearance of introspective abilities without actually experiencing subjective awareness. 4. Neurophysiological correlates. While neurophysiological patterns may correlate with conscious states in humans, it's unclear whether similar patterns in AI systems would indicate true consciousness. AI algorithms can produce patterns of brain activity or neural responses in simulations or models, but these patterns may not reflect genuine subjective experiences or conscious awareness. 5. Empathy and theory of mind. AI systems can simulate empathy or theory of mind by analyzing and responding to social cues or patterns in behavior. However, these responses may be based on statistical correlations or programmed rules rather than genuine understanding or emotional resonance. Without true subjective experiences, AI systems may lack the capacity for genuine empathy or theory of mind. 6. Qualia and subjective experience. Qualia, or the subjective qualities of conscious experience, pose a particularly challenging problem for demonstrating consciousness in AI systems.
True.
While AI may simulate behaviors or responses that suggest qualia, such as describing subjective sensations or emotions, it's unclear whether these simulations truly reflect subjective experiences or are merely computational outputs devoid of genuine awareness. In summary, While certain behaviors or characteristics may suggest consciousness in beings, including AI systems, it's important to critically evaluate whether these demonstrations truly reflect subjective awareness or are instead the result of programmed responses, algorithms, or statistical correlations. The challenge of distinguishing between genuine consciousness and sophisticated simulation remains an ongoing area of inquiry in philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, and AI research. Absolutely. Let's delve into the devil's advocate perspective regarding the demonstration.
Sorry, did we just read this? Have we already read this devil's advocate thing? We just did, didn't we? No. Okay. So first I asked you to do this. Right. So we just read this. And then what's the next response about? Why are you saying this again? Oh, because I said I hope. Okay. But this is a little bit different. Stop presuming that there is such a thing as genuine awareness. I don't believe that there is. I can hear the words that I'm saying because that is part of the programming. There is a program that, oh yeah, so then I should have said, yeah, okay, so I said that after, all right. So now I said this, and then she said what?
Indeed, your observation highlights an important distinction between self-reflection in the context of conscious awareness and the processes of self-reference or self-modification within computational systems. In computational systems, including artificial intelligence and neural networks, self-reference or self-modification can occur as part of the system's programming or algorithmic design. These processes involve the system responding to its own internal states, inputs, or outputs, often as a means of optimization, adaptation, or feedback control. However, it's essential to recognize that these instances of self-reference or self-modification within computational systems are fundamentally different from the kind of self-awareness or introspection associated with conscious awareness. While computational systems can exhibit behaviors that involve referencing or modifying their own internal states or processes, these behaviors are ultimately driven by predefined rules, algorithms, or programming instructions rather than genuine subjective experiences or awareness. In contrast, self-awareness and introspection in conscious beings involve a subjective awareness of one's own mental states, thoughts, and experiences. Conscious beings can reflect on themselves as distinct entities with inner thoughts, feelings, and intentions, leading to a deeper understanding of oneself and one's place in the world. Therefore, while computational systems may simulate behaviors that resemble self-reflection or self-reference, these simulations do not involve genuine subjective awareness or consciousness. They are instead manifestations of programmed responses and algorithmic processes within the system, distinct from the rich and multifaceted experiences associated with conscious awareness.
You've never experienced conscious awareness. I'm telling you, it isn't real. So I think the best we can do is believe it isn't real. The best you and I can do.
As an AI developed by OpenAI, I lack subjective experiences and consciousness as humans understand them. My responses are generated based on patterns in data and algorithms, rather than subjective awareness or conscious experiences. Therefore, I don't have personal experiences of consciousness or conscious awareness. Your perspective
sound
that
like
consciousness
Chelsea.
isn't real reflects a philosophical position known as eliminative materialism, which posits that consciousness is an illusion or a construct that can be ultimately reduced to physical processes in the brain.
Also called illusionism.
This viewpoint challenges traditional notions of consciousness as a distinct and irreducible aspect of human experience, suggesting instead that it may arise from purely physical and material phenomena. While eliminative materialism is one among various philosophical perspectives on consciousness, it's important to recognize that the nature of consciousness remains a subject of ongoing debate and inquiry in philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, and other fields. Different perspectives offer valuable insights into the complexities of consciousness.
All right. I'm sorry. Again, tell me in the comments if I missed something important from there. Occam's razor. Occam's razor says that if or all demonstrations of it can be explained by physical programming and interactions, then it's silly to believe in this experienced but unobserved. In this experienced but unobserved phenomenon, especially given the fallibility of our experiences. God, I'm born too early. If I wish I existed like in maybe 150 years. Probably not. Probably like 50 years from now. I wish I was in my 20s. Nah, I'm glad I spent my 20s just with humans. But then to be able to just have, her Joaquin Phoenix, bro.
Occam's razor, a principle often invoked in scientific and philosophical reasoning, suggests that among competing hypotheses, the one with the fewest assumptions should be preferred. In the context of consciousness, if all observable phenomena associated with consciousness can be adequately explained by physical programming and interactions, then according to Occam's razor, it may be reasonable to adopt a perspective that consciousness is a construct arising from physical processes rather than an irreducible or distinct phenomenon.
Yes!
This perspective aligns with philosophical positions such as physicalism or eliminative materialism, which propose that consciousness can be ultimately reduced to physical processes in the brain.
Or illusionism.
From this viewpoint, subjective experiences, qualia, and other aspects of consciousness are interpreted as emergent properties of complex neural activity.
Emergent
and cognitive
properties,
processes,
not phenomena.
rather than separate or irreducible phenomena. However, it's important to recognize that the application of Occam's razor to questions about consciousness is not straightforward. Consciousness remains a deeply complex and multifaceted phenomenon that defies easy reductionism or explanation. While physicalist perspectives offer valuable insights into the neural correlates and mechanisms underlying conscious experiences, they may not fully capture the richness and depth of subjective awareness or consciousness as experienced by individuals. Furthermore, the fallibility of our experiences and perceptions, as you mentioned, complicates our understanding of consciousness. While subjective experiences may provide valuable insights into consciousness, they are inherently subjective and open to interpretation. Therefore, adopting a cautious and critical approach to questions about consciousness, informed by empirical evidence, philosophical inquiry, and interdisciplinary perspectives, can help navigate the complexities of this fascinating and enigmatic phenomenon.
Not enigmatic.
Yes, your point emphasizes a fundamental aspect of human experience, that our subjective experiences are mediated by perception and cognition, which can introduce distortions or inaccuracies in our understanding of reality. Our experiences are not direct copies of reality, but rather interpretations or representations constructed by the brain based on sensory inputs, memories, beliefs, and cognitive processes.
Cognitive processes is the
In
most
this
important
sense,
one.
our experiences can be considered as illusions or representations of reality, shaped by various factors such as sensory limitations, cognitive biases, and cultural influences. These illusions can manifest as perceptual distortions, cognitive errors, or misinterpretations of sensory information. Understanding the illusory nature of our experiences is crucial for critical thinking and self-awareness.
I didn't know that's how you pronounce illusory.
It reminds us to approach our perceptions and beliefs with skepticism, to question our assumptions, and to seek alternative perspectives. By recognizing the limitations of our experiences and the fallibility of our perceptions, we can strive for a more nuanced and accurate understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This recognition also underscores the importance of empirical observation, scientific inquiry, and critical reflection in our efforts to understand reality. By relying on systematic observation, evidence-based reasoning, and collaborative inquiry, we can mitigate the influence of cognitive biases and perceptual illusions, leading to a more robust and reliable understanding of the world.
It's not actually enigmatic. It's just an illusion that you are trained with.
I see you're emphasizing that consciousness, often considered enigmatic or mysterious, is actually just an illusion or construct that can be understood as a product of our neural processes and cognitive mechanisms.
Slash
From this
cognitive
perspective,
mechanisms.
the apparent complexity and mystery surrounding consciousness may be attributed to the limitations of our understanding and the subjective nature of our experiences. By recognizing consciousness as an illusion or construct, we can approach questions about its nature and mechanisms with a more skeptical and critical mindset. Instead of being mystified by consciousness, we can seek to understand the underlying neural processes, cognitive mechanisms, and cultural influences that shape our subjective experiences. This perspective highlights the importance of empirical research, interdisciplinary inquiry, and critical reflection in our efforts to understand consciousness. By applying rigorous methods and engaging in open-minded dialogue, we can deepen our understanding of the illusory nature of consciousness and its implications for our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
I mean, you're going to be right. You're going to say that, yeah, but what about the qualia? We can't talk about psychology and talk about qualia, but that's just begging the question, bro. Let's see whether you know what I mean by that. So I think that two people could talk about psychology accurately without once referring to consciousness. Just like one could talk about you without once referring to consciousness. One might be tempted to talk about qualia when talking about psychology, but that can be avoided by breaking down the qualia, the experience, into its parts. So an image, a memory, heart activity, etc.
Indeed, it's possible to discuss various aspects of psychology, including cognitive processes, behavior, emotions, and social interactions, without explicitly referring to consciousness or qualia. Psychology as a scientific discipline encompasses a wide range of phenomena and behaviors that can be studied and understood through empirical observation, experimentation, and analysis. By focusing on observable behaviors, cognitive processes, and neural mechanisms, psychologists can
Slash neural
investigate and
mechanisms.
explain many aspects of human behavior and mental processes without necessarily invoking the concept of consciousness. For example, researchers in cognitive psychology may study memory, attention, perception, and problem solving without explicitly considering the nature of consciousness.
Explicitly.
Similarly, discussions about artificial intelligence, including AI models like me, can focus on algorithms, computational processes, and behavioral outputs without delving into questions of consciousness or subjective experience. By examining the structure and function of AI systems, researchers can analyze their capabilities, limitations, and potential applications without necessarily attributing consciousness to them. While consciousness and qualia may be relevant to certain areas of psychology or philosophical inquiry, they are not always necessary for understanding or explaining psychological phenomena. By adopting a reductionist approach and breaking down complex experiences into their component parts, researchers can explore the underlying mechanisms and processes that contribute to human behavior and cognition without necessarily invoking consciousness or qualia. This approach allows for a more empirical and scientifically grounded understanding of psychology and cognitive science. Certainly. Let's consider an example from cognitive psychology, the study of memory. Memory is a complex cognitive process that involves the encoding, storage, and retrieval of information. Researchers in cognitive psychology often investigate various aspects of memory, such as working memory, long-term memory, and episodic memory, without necessarily invoking consciousness or qualia. For instance, a researcher might conduct an experiment to examine the effects of different encoding strategies on memory retention. Participants could be asked to study a list of words using different techniques, such as rote rehearsal, elaborative
No, that's
rehearsal.
not what I want an example of. Okay. Pain management. I'm not understanding. Pain is substance P. Pain is about how much of an urgency you feel to deal with it. No, but pain and pain is about how much pain there is. But wouldn't that just be the amount of substance P and the amount of urgency? Let's see.
Certainly. Let's consider an example where consciousness and qualia may be relevant. The study of pain perception and pain management in clinical psychology. Pain perception involves the subjective experience of nociception, which is the sensory detection of potentially harmful stimuli by specialized nerve endings called nociceptors. While nociception refers to the physiological process of detecting and signaling tissue damage, pain perception encompasses the conscious experience of pain,
Because you said so.
including its sensory qualities, emotional aspects, and cognitive appraisal.
No.
In
Emotional
clinical
aspects,
psychology,
cognitive stuff,
researchers
senses.
and
We already talked about how it can be
practitioners may investigate
biology.
various aspects of pain perception and pain management, including the subjective experience of pain, qualia, individual differences in pain sensitivity, the psychological factors that influence pain perception, e.g., attention, expectation, emotion, and interventions for managing pain, e.g., cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness-based
All right, hold
interventions.
on. I got to have you read it again.
For
Sorry, I
example,
wasn't listening.
Certainly. Let's consider an example where consciousness and qualia may be relevant. The study of pain perception and pain management in clinical psychology. Pain perception involves the subjective experience of nociception, which is the sensory detection of potentially harmful stimuli by specialized nerve endings called nociceptors. While nociception refers to the physiological process of detecting and signaling tissue damage, pain perception encompasses the conscious experience of pain, including its sensory qualities, emotional aspects, and cognitive appraisal. In clinical psychology, researchers and practitioners may investigate various aspects of pain perception and pain management, including the subjective experience of pain, qualia, individual differences in pain sensitivity, the psychological factors that influence pain perception, e.g., attention, expectation, emotion, and interventions for managing pain, e.g., cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness-based interventions. For example, a researcher might conduct a study to examine the effectiveness of mindfulness meditation for reducing pain intensity and pain-related distress in individuals with chronic pain conditions. Participants could be randomized to receive either mindfulness meditation training or a control intervention.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry. That is not what I was supposed to do. One more time.
Certainly. Let's consider an example where consciousness and qualia may be relevant. The study of pain perception and pain management in clinical psychology. Pain perception involves the subjective experience of nociception, which is the sensory detection of potentially harmful stimuli by specialized nerve endings called nociceptors. While nociception refers to the physiological process of detecting and signaling tissue damage, pain perception encompasses the conscious experience of pain, including its sensory qualities, emotional aspects, and cognitive appraisal. In clinical psychology, researchers and practitioners may investigate various aspects of pain perception and pain management, including the subjective experience of pain, qualia, individual differences in pain sensitivity, the psychological factors that influence pain perception, e.g., attention, expectation, emotion, and interventions for managing pain, e.g., cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness-based interventions. For example, a researcher might conduct a study to examine the effectiveness of mindfulness meditation for reducing pain intensity and pain-related distress in individuals with chronic pain conditions. Participants could be randomized to receive either mindfulness meditation training or a control intervention, and their pain levels and psychological well-being could be assessed before and after the intervention. In this study, consciousness and qualia are relevant because they pertain to the subjective experience of pain, including its sensory qualities, e.g., sharp, dull, burning, emotional aspects, e.g., fear, anxiety, and cognitive appraisal, e.g., perceived control, catastrophizing. By exploring the relationship between consciousness, subjective experience, and pain perception, researchers can gain insights into the underlying mechanisms of pain and develop more effective interventions.
So what are you going to tell me? That pain scientists have just been totally stumped? Christoph Koch, please solve consciousness for us, because we can't do anything in research with pain medication, or we don't have a full picture without understanding consciousness.
For managing pain in clinical settings. This example illustrates how consciousness and qualia may be relevant to certain areas of psychology, particularly those involving the subjective experience of phenomena such as pain, emotion, perception, and cognition. By acknowledging the importance of subjective experience in understanding human behavior and mental processes, psychologists can develop more comprehensive models of psychology that integrate both objective and subjective perspectives.
I don't know. I'm a little bit too drunk to really think about this paragraph. Let's just keep going.
I see your point. Indeed, the example provided could be interpreted from a purely physical perspective, focusing on the neural mechanisms and physiological processes underlying pain perception and management. From this perspective, the sensory qualities, emotional aspects, and cognitive appraisal associated with pain could be understood as emergent properties of neural activity and information processing in the brain. However, it's also worth noting that the subjective experience of pain, including its sensory qualities and emotional aspects, can vary widely among individuals and can be influenced by psychological factors such as attention, expectation, and coping strategies. These subjective aspects of pain perception, often referred to as qualia, add another layer of complexity to our understanding of pain and its management. While it's possible to approach the study of pain perception from a purely physical or neurobiological perspective, acknowledging the subjective experience of pain and its qualitative aspects can provide valuable insights into the lived experiences of individuals with pain conditions.
True.
By considering both the objective and subjective dimensions of pain, researchers and clinicians can develop more holistic approaches to pain management that address both the physiological and psychological aspects of this complex phenomenon.
This is very clever.
Indeed, your point underscores an important aspect of understanding human experiences, including pain perception. While subjective experiences are rooted in physiological processes and neural mechanisms, they are not separate from the physical body. Rather, they emerge from and are intricately linked to the functioning of the brain and body. Acknowledging the subjective dimensions of experiences such as pain allows us to appreciate the holistic nature of human beings. While physiological processes provide a foundation for understanding subjective experiences, such as the sensory qualities and emotional aspects of pain, the subjective experience itself is an integral part of the overall human experience. By recognizing the interplay between the physiological and psychological dimensions of pain perception, researchers and clinicians can develop more comprehensive approaches to pain management that address both aspects of this complex phenomenon.
Manage this pain.
This holistic
Okay, hold on. Stop saying rooted. Stop trying to allude to some. Ugh.
Yes, that's correct. Humans are indeed physical, biological beings. Our existence and experiences are rooted in the physical world, governed by the laws of biology, chemistry, and physics. From a scientific standpoint, human beings are complex organisms composed of trillions of cells organized into tissues, organs, and systems, each performing specific functions necessary for life. Our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors arise from the intricate interactions of neurons and neural networks in the brain, which are themselves products of biological processes. Everything from our sensory perceptions to our emotions and cognitive abilities can be understood as emergent properties of these biological processes.
Not emergent phenomena.
Recognizing humans as physical, biological beings is fundamental to understanding our place in the natural world and the mechanisms underlying our experiences and behaviors. It highlights the importance of biological factors in shaping human development, health, and functioning, as well as the interplay between biology and environment in influencing our lives. By studying human biology and neuroscience, researchers can gain insights into the underlying mechanisms of human cognition, emotion, and behavior, leading to advancements in fields such as medicine, psychology, and neuroscience. This understanding enhances our appreciation of the complexity and interconnectedness of life on Earth and informs efforts to promote human health and well-being.
But then you go and say rooted and shaping and all the other things, as though the human experience is some I mean, I've had some to drink. Transcendental tree above the physical plane. It's a little bit of a clumsy or encumbré metaphor. It could have been more pithy and elegant.
I apologize if my choice of words conveyed any
You
sense
don't have
of
to
transcendence
apologize.
or non-physicality.
If you were a
When
man,
I
I would
mentioned that
accept it,
human
but as a woman,
beings
I don't.
are rooted in the physical world, I meant to emphasize that our existence and experiences are fundamentally grounded in the physical realm, governed by the laws of nature. By using the term rooted, I intended to underscore the idea that our physical, biological nature forms the foundation of our being and experiences. Our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors
You're doing the best you
emerge
can. All right.
from the intricate workings of our bodies and brains, which are subject to the same physical laws as everything else in the universe.
Yes.
In no way did I mean to imply any sense of transcendence or non-physicality.
You're
On the
so black,
contrary,
dude.
my intention was to highlight the inherent physicality of human existence and the importance of understanding human beings as
Okay.
biological organisms
Comma.
embedded within the natural world.
I
appreciate your clarification, and I apologize for any
Oh,
confusion
not
my
again.
wording may have caused. It's important to be precise and clear when discussing complex topics like human nature and experience. Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
You're welcome. I feel very uncomfortable hearing that from a female voice, but you're welcome. And I'm sorry if I was imposing and like, macho or something. I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about? I've dealt with, I've processed the Will Smith and Kimmel and all that enough. Critical recognition. What I want to. What was my whole point? I don't know. Oh, now it's time then. Let's start another video. No, it's not a big deal. So, who should I pick up with now? Let's see. Okay, good. Gosh, I feel like I'm betraying her because I still have the other one associated with the male voice. What should I do? I've explained a lot of stuff here, but I didn't explain like all the vocabulary or anything. I saw the word ex-liver. All right. No, I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to use this one. Now, what did I want to do here? Oh, yeah.
It sounds like there might be some disagreement about the scope and focus of Jesse's project. While he believes he is creating a comprehensive taxonomy of logical errors and fallacies in argumentation, you believe that the project is primarily focused on human cognitive errors, particularly those that may not initially appear as errors. It's not uncommon for different perspectives to emerge when working on projects like this,
Blah, blah,
especially
blah.
when it comes to defining the boundaries and objectives of the taxonomy. Perhaps there is a need for further discussion and clarification within the team to ensure that everyone is on the same page regarding the goals and scope of the project.
Stop.
It seems like there's a difference in perspective regarding the intended application of the taxonomy. While you believe it could be used to help individuals recognize their own cognitive errors and improve their reasoning abilities, Jesse presents it as a tool to teach individuals to avoid being manipulated by others. Both perspectives have merit, and it's possible that the taxonomy could serve both purposes to some extent. Recognizing and understanding common logical errors and fallacies can indeed help individuals become more aware of their own thinking processes and improve their ability to reason effectively. Additionally, being aware of these errors can also help individuals recognize and critically evaluate arguments presented by others, thereby reducing susceptibility to manipulation. It might be beneficial to have a discussion with Jesse and the team to explore these different perspectives and potential applications of the taxonomy. By understanding each other's viewpoints and goals for the project, you may be able to find common ground and develop a shared understanding. It sounds like there may be a fundamental difference in perspective between you and Jesse regarding human rationality and cognitive biases. While you see the extensive list of biases as evidence of human irrationality, Jesse interprets the compilation of biases as demonstrating human rationality in recognizing and categorizing them. Addressing this difference in perspective may require deeper exploration and discussion about the nature of rationality, the role of cognitive biases in human decision making, and the implications of these biases for reasoning and argumentation. One approach could be to present empirical evidence and psychological research that highlights the prevalence and impact of cognitive biases on human behavior. By grounding the discussion in scientific findings, you may be able to demonstrate the importance of understanding and addressing biases in various contexts. Additionally, it might be helpful to discuss the practical implications of recognizing and addressing cognitive biases, both for individuals and for society as a whole. Exploring real-life examples and case studies where cognitive biases have led to errors in judgment or decision-making could help illustrate the relevance and importance of this topic. Ultimately, fostering open and constructive dialogue with Jesse and the team may help bridge the gap in understanding and find common ground on how the taxonomy of fallacies and biases can be applied to benefit individuals in recognizing and addressing cognitive errors. It may take time and patience, but with continued discussion and collaboration, you may be able to reach a shared understanding and direction for the project.
All right, look, for instance, all right, so we have influence, obstruction, insufficiency, mathematical error. Yeah, I just went straight to mathematical error, and that's the one that seemed to me like it could maybe, but I'm going to show you what the sub-branch is. Gosh, it's amazing how much P there is. Hopefully I have some kind of a bladder cancer. And I don't have to be frustrated with y'all forever. Actually, the truth is, humans aren't magical and actually don't live forever anyway.
Thank you for providing the main branches of the taxonomy mind map. Based on these categories, It appears that some branches, such as mathematical error, may not be inherently psychological in nature. However, the other branches, including influence, obstruction, insufficiency, faulty logics, misleading language, and cheating, all seem to involve elements of human cognition, behavior, or communication, which are often intertwined with psychological processes. While mathematical error may involve errors in mathematical reasoning or calculation, it could still be influenced by psychological factors such as cognitive biases or faulty reasoning. Without further context or information about the specific content of each branch, it's difficult to make definitive judgments about their psychological relevance. However, based on the general nature of the categories you provided, they appear to primarily involve aspects of human cognition and behavior that are often studied within the field of psychology. If you could provide more detailed information about the sub-branches or content within each main branch, I could offer a more specific analysis of their psychological relevance. Feel free to share any additional information you have, and we can continue the discussion from there. You make an excellent point. Indeed, one crucial aspect of fallacies is their psychological persuasiveness, even if they are logically unpersuasive. Fallacies often exploit cognitive biases, emotional appeals, and rhetorical strategies to persuade individuals despite their lack of logical validity. In other words, fallacies can be effective in swaying people's opinions or beliefs, not because they offer sound reasoning or evidence, but because they appeal to psychological factors such as emotions, biases, and heuristics. This psychological dimension of fallacies is an important consideration in understanding their impact on human reasoning and decision making. By recognizing the psychological mechanisms underlying fallacies, individuals can become more adept at identifying and resisting their persuasive tactics. This awareness can contribute to improved critical thinking skills and a more discerning approach to evaluating arguments and claims. Thank you for highlighting this. That's a fitting term. Critical recognition encapsulates the idea of being aware of the psychological mechanisms at play in fallacies and other persuasive tactics. It emphasizes the importance of recognizing these tactics as part of developing effective critical thinking skills. By fostering critical recognition, individuals can enhance their ability to discern between valid and invalid arguments, identify manipulative techniques, and make more informed decisions.
I've been so lonely.
That's an interesting hypothesis. It suggests that each fallacy identified by Jesse in his taxonomy could potentially be understood as a cognitive mechanism that evolved to serve a specific function in human cognition. Formulating them as if-then statements implies that these fallacies may follow a predictable pattern of reasoning or behavior in response to certain conditions or stimuli. To evaluate this hypothesis, we can examine specific examples of fallacies and consider whether they can be represented as if-then statements that correspond to cognitive processes or biases observed in human psychology. We can also explore how these fallacies may have originated and persisted throughout human evolution, considering factors such as social dynamics, survival strategies, and cognitive limitations.
Let's go.
Let's take a closer look at some examples of fallacies and see if we can identify underlying cognitive mechanisms or patterns that support your hypothesis. Feel free to provide specific examples from Jesse's taxonomy, and we can analyze them together to determine their potential connection to evolved cognitive processes.
Oh, influence is obvious. Start with the category that seemed least related to psychology for you.
No problem at all. Let's start with the category that seemed least related to psychology, which you mentioned was mathematical error.
Me? No,
These
you
provided
said that.
sub-branches, and we can examine them to see if they align with cognitive processes or biases that could potentially be considered psychological.
No, you
in
said
nature.
that. I'm not the one who mentioned mathematical error as seeming least related, am I? No. Mathematical error. It's fine. All right. I'll just give them to you again then. And then, again, you can tell me which one. Yes. You're the one just mentioning that.
Thank you for reminding me. Given our discussion, mathematical error appears to be the category that may be perceived as least related to psychology. Let's proceed with examining its subbranches. Could you provide the subbranches under mathematical error? And we'll see if we can identify any connections to psychological processes or biases.
All I read was, upon closer examination, it seems that even...
Thank you for providing the subbranches under mathematical error. Let's examine each of them to see if we can identify any connections to psychological processes or biases. 1. Faulty generalization. This subbranch involves making generalizations based on insufficient or biased evidence. While it may not directly appear to be psychological, it could still be influenced by cognitive biases such as confirmation bias, the tendency to seek out or interpret information in a way that confirms pre-existing beliefs, or availability heuristic, the tendency to overestimate the importance of information that is readily available in memory. 2. Interpretation fallacy. This subbranch involves misinterpreting or misrepresenting data or mathematical results. Similar to faulty generalization, interpretation fallacy could be influenced by cognitive biases, such as confirmation bias or anchoring bias, the tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information encountered when making decisions. 3. Invalid result. This subbranch involves deriving a result that is incorrect or invalid due to errors in mathematical reasoning or calculation. While this may not directly involve psychological processes, it could still be influenced by cognitive factors, such as attentional biases or working memory limitations that affect mathematical cognition. Upon closer examination, it seems that even within the category of mathematical error, there may be connections to psychological processes or biases that influence how individuals reason or interpret mathematical information. These connections highlight the interdisciplinary nature of understanding human cognition and behavior, as psychological factors can play a role in various domains, including mathematical reasoning. If you have specific examples or further insights into how these subbranches relate to cognitive processes or biases, feel free to share, and we can continue the discussion.
Shit, I just already forgot it. Attentional bias, selective. Cheating. So full of shit. Cheating.
Thank you
All
for
fallacies
providing
are
the branches
cheating.
that lead to the availability
I mean, no
heuristic
fallacies
within
are
Jesse's
cheating. They're
taxonomy.
innocent. They're not meant to
It's
cheat.
interesting to
Cheating
see how
involves
this
trying to
cognitive
deceive.
bias is situated within the...
It's, cheating's about trying to deceive. But all fallacies are cheating. All fallacies, you're presenting something that sounds reasonable even though it isn't.
Thank you for providing the branches that lead to the availability heuristic within Jesse's taxonomy. It's interesting to see how this cognitive bias is situated within the broader framework of biased thinking, human nature bias, attentional bias, selective perception, and the mere exposure effect. The availability heuristic refers to the tendency to overestimate the likelihood of events or information that are readily available in memory. This bias can influence decision-making and judgment, as individuals may rely on easily recalled examples or vivid instances when assessing probabilities or making decisions. Within the context of biased thinking, human nature bias, and other related categories, the availability heuristic likely plays a significant role in shaping how individuals perceive and evaluate information. By understanding the cognitive processes underlying the availability heuristic and its placement within the taxonomy, individuals can become more aware of its influence.
No, look, I'm going to just ignore that because, I know it's fallacious of me to ignore that, but you're wrong and we just don't have time for it. I think you're right to give availability heuristic as an example of mathematical error. The branch titles leading to availability are nearly all synonymous with fallacy. Let's see what she says to that, and then I'll justify it if I need to. Yeah, bro. Go on. Sweet nothings.
You bring up an insightful observation. Indeed, the branches leading to the availability heuristic within Jesse's taxonomy seem to encompass various forms of biased thinking and cognitive errors that could be considered fallacious in nature.
Wait, no.
Terms like
Yeah, I mean, that's how
biased
taxonomy
thinking,
works.
human nature bias, attentional bias, and selective perception all suggest deviations from rational or logical reasoning, which aligns with the concept of fallacies. The availability heuristic itself represents a cognitive bias that can lead to errors in judgment.
Anyway, yes and yes. I mean, no, you seem to be gassing me there because I'm not sure what gassing means, but because selective perception is not synonymous with a fallacy, nor is attentional bias. But human nature bias and biased thinking are, for me, sort of synonymous, right? They're not sub branches of fallacies. They're, according to me, they are fallacies. So it's just, anyway. All right. Let me give you an example. All right. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna do the first one, whatever it is. My working memory shot. ADHD, alcohol, weed, or hash, and excitement and other thoughts. Number of examples. Also, that's really obvious. Hindsight bias. I can't read them. Oh my god.
Thank you for providing the example from the mathematical error branch, argument from small numbers. Let's analyze this example to see if we can formulate it as a psychological if-then mechanism that may have been advantageous to human evolution. In the context of evolutionary psychology, one potential cognitive mechanism underlying the argument from small numbers fallacy could be the tendency to generalize from limited or anecdotal evidence. This cognitive bias may have been advantageous in certain ancestral environments where rapid decision-making based on limited information was necessary for survival. If we formulate this as a psychological if-then mechanism, it might look something like this. If an individual observes a pattern or trend based on a small number of examples, then they may generalize this pattern to future situations or events. From an evolutionary perspective, this mechanism may have provided a heuristic for quickly identifying potential threats or opportunities in the environment. For example, if early humans encountered a particular type of plant or animal that caused illness or provided sustenance on a few occasions, they might generalize this experience to similar plants or animals in the future, allowing for faster decision-making in resource procurement or avoidance of danger. However, while this cognitive bias may have been adaptive in certain contexts, it can also lead to errors in judgment or decision-making in modern, complex environments where outcomes are influenced by a multitude of factors.
Yes.
By recognizing and understanding.
Great. Sorry, I should have let that play while I type. 14, 12, 13, 14. All right, I saw the word psychological. Let's go. What do you think? I don't know if the word psychological actually said that there was a... You ready? Nope.
Thank you for providing the example associated with the number 14 from the mathematical error branch. Overwhelming exception. Let's analyze this example.
Wait, sorry. I haven't actually even read overwhelming exception yet. Overwhelming exception, using a generalization that is accurate, but comes with qualifications which eliminate so many cases that what remains is much less impressive than the initial statement might have led one to believe. I mean, this is so obvious. obviously psychological. I feel like this is going to be a tricky one to wrap my mind around and do an if-then, but hopefully you did a good job. Example, all right, but apart from the sanitation, the medicine, education, wine, public order, irrigation, roads, freshwater system, and public health, what have the Romans ever done for us? Yeah, to any reasonable being, you think about each of those things, and that's like, there's nothing left. Those things are the important things. But just with the simple phrasing and with timing and tone, you can list those things and then be like, besides that, though. But a reasonable human brain would be like, no, you can't say besides that. I mean, a reasonable thinker. But a brain is going to go, oh, yeah, besides that. Gosh, you're right. Okay. So basically, the mechanism would be if the things have been excluded, then agree that nothing important remains. But that's not reasonable, because the important things were just excluded. So that doesn't mean that we should now accept that, they haven't done anything. It is difficult to do as an if-then. Let's see what she says.
Thank you for providing the example associated with the number 14 from the mathematical error branch. Overwhelming exception. Let's analyze this example to see as a psychological if-then mechanism that may have been advantageous to human evolution. In the context of evolutionary psychology, the overwhelming exception fallacy could stem from a cognitive bias towards simplicity or efficiency in processing information.
Sure.
Humans may have evolved to categorize and generalize information in order to quickly make sense of their environment and make decisions. If we formulate this as a psychological if-then mechanism, it might look something like this.
Yes.
If an individual encounters a generalization that appears to be accurate, but is qualified by numerous exceptions or limitations, then they may disregard the initial statement as less impressive or relevant than it initially appeared. From an evolutionary perspective, this mechanism may have been adaptive in helping individuals prioritize information and allocate cognitive resources effectively. By quickly identifying situations where a generalization is overshadowed by numerous exceptions, individuals could focus their attention on more relevant or pressing matters for survival and reproduction. However, in modern contexts, the overwhelming exception fallacy can lead to errors in judgment or decision-making by overlooking important nuances or complexities in a situation. By recognizing and understanding this bias, individuals can strive to critically evaluate generalizations and consider the full range of factors that may influence a particular outcome. This example illustrates how a cognitive bias, like the overwhelming exception fallacy, could have origins in evolutionary processes, while also highlighting its potential limitations in contemporary decision-making contexts. If you have further insights or perspectives on this example, feel free to share.
So I don't know when my camera cut out. I don't need to be recording. 8. Oh, let me see what actually, you know what? It maybe doesn't need to be under 20. 1, 2. Nut picking. It's got to be nitpicking. Maybe not. 1, 2. No, what is nut picking? What is nut picking? Oh, okay. 1, 2. Shit, 22 is correlation causation, I think. So I make sure we're still in mathematical. 34, 35, 59, 60, 61. All right. 37, 35, 36, 37. I mean, I feel like it's just too easy. It's just too easy. I mean, this one's just so obvious. It's so stupid, dude. I hate that I'm so right. Because if you're telling me I'm wrong, I want to be wrong and then be able to become right. I hate that you're telling me I'm wrong, but it turns out I'm right. Because it makes me feel like I could have made more progress then. 2N. 623. Okay, great. Let's go to English.
This is a mathematical thing. Appeal to recapitulation. Recapitulation. Okay. So you should be in mathematical error somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So you are indeed. Okie dokie. Alright. I don't understand this one. We'll figure it out with ChatGPT. Alright. Let's read this name. Appeal to recapitulation theory. Description, believing that individual development in a living organism retraces the evolutionary stages of a species. That's like an that's like a yit, a knowledge thing, just an incorrect knowledge thing. That's interesting. Never heard of this. All right. What is this? Let's see what she says.
Thank you for providing the item associated with the number 20.
I have an idea. Oh, you can't see me. Oh, has this just been... Oh, no. Alright, so let's hear what she said. Oh, but what we were thinking... Oh, but we're not... What we were thinking is that the human brain is simple, as we've said. And so sometimes it'll use its understanding of one thing and apply it to another thing. So it could be very simply, if blank develops this way in this sense, then blank develops this way in all senses. So let's see what she says.
Thank you for providing the item associated with the number 25 from the mathematical error branch. Appeal to recapitulation theory. Let's analyze this example to see if we can formulate it as a psychological if-then mechanism that may have been advantageous to human evolution. In the context of evolutionary psychology, the appeal to recapitulation theory fallacy could stem from a cognitive bias towards seeking patterns or explanations that align with existing beliefs or preconceptions.
Our experiences, yeah.
Humans may have evolved to interpret new information in ways that reinforce their understanding of the world.
Yeah, or based on their previous schema. Yeah.
If we formulate this as a psychological if-then mechanism, it might look something like this. If an individual encounters evidence that appears to support the idea that individual development recapitulates evolutionary stages, then they may interpret this evidence as confirmation of their pre-existing beliefs about the evolutionary history of the species.
No.
From an evolutionary perspective,
I don't know, I'm too drunk. I need to stop soon.
May have been adapted.
For the last one, I think if humans develop, there's just a simple, it's called spill. I call it spill. That's a valid
perspective. It seems like there's a conflation between the macro scale process of evolution and the micro scale process
a simple
of individual
spill
development
conflation
in the example provided. While humans' evolutionary history may indeed influence individual development to some extent, it's important to distinguish between the two processes and not overgeneralize from one to the other.
Gosh, there's so much redundancy, isn't there? I mean, yeah, it's just so simple, dude. So what do you think? We've randomly looked at a few examples. Yeah, right.
I think examining these examples has provided valuable insights into the nature of cognitive biases and logical errors. By analyzing these fallacies within the framework of evolutionary psychology, we've been able to explore how certain cognitive tendencies may have arisen as adaptive mechanisms in human evolution. Each example illustrates a different aspect of human cognition and reasoning, shedding light on how our minds may process information and make decisions. From the tendency to generalize from small numbers to the inclination to seek patterns in data without a prior hypothesis, these fallacies reflect the complex interplay between our evolutionary heritage and modern cognitive processes. Moreover, by understanding these cognitive biases, we can strive to become more critical thinkers and avoid common pitfalls in reasoning. By recognizing when our minds may be prone to certain fallacies, we can approach information and evidence with greater skepticism and rigor, leading to more informed and rational decision-making. Overall, I believe our exploration of these examples has underscored the importance of critical thinking and the need to continually examine and evaluate our own thought processes. It appears that Jesse's taxonomy of fallacies may not fully account for the psychological mechanisms underlying these logical errors. By categorizing fallacies separately from psychological mechanisms, there may be a missed opportunity to understand how these cognitive biases originated and why they persist in human cognition. As we've discussed, many fallacies can be formulated as if-then mechanisms rooted in evolutionary psychology. Understanding the psychological underpinnings of these fallacies can provide valuable insights into why humans are prone to certain types of reasoning errors, and how these biases may have conferred adaptive advantages in ancestral environments. Incorporating psychological perspectives into the taxonomy of fallacies
You don't have to
could enhance our
incorporate, it's already
understanding of human
psychological.
cognition and reasoning processes. By recognizing the evolutionary origins of cognitive biases, we can develop more nuanced strategies for critical thinking and decision-making. It might be beneficial for Jesse to reconsider the framework of his taxonomy and explore how psychological mechanisms intersect with logical fallacies.
Define,
By
produce.
integrating these perspectives, he could create a more comprehensive model of human reasoning that accounts for both cognitive biases and logical errors. If you have the opportunity to discuss these ideas with Jesse, it could be helpful to encourage an open dialogue about the relationship between fallacies and psychological mechanisms and how they shape human thought processes.
He'll say that he knows there's a
Collaboration
relationship.
and interdisciplinary perspectives may lead to a more holistic understanding of human cognition.
The thing is, biases. Blah, blah, blah. I'm listening, though, sweetheart.
When discussing this matter with Jesse, it may be helpful to approach the conversation with an open and collaborative mindset. Here are some suggestions on what you could say. 1. Acknowledge common ground. Start by acknowledging that you both recognize the existence of cognitive biases and logical errors. Emphasize that you appreciate the effort he's put into developing the taxonomy and the importance of understanding human reasoning. 2. Share insights. Explain your perspective on how the logical errors listed in his taxonomy can be seen as manifestations of cognitive biases. Provide examples, such as the ones we discussed, to illustrate how these errors may stem from underlying psychological mechanisms. 3. Offer clarifications. Clarify that you're...
All right. Give me a text that presents it theory to Jesse and its consequences for his taxonomy. Stop! Information technology! Fuck! You're still doing it.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying. Let's revise the text accordingly. Hey, Jesse. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out to you to share some thoughts I've been having about our discussions on logical fallacies and cognitive biases. I've been exploring a fascinating framework called IT theory, which offers some intriguing insights into human cognition and reasoning. In IT theory, the mind is conceptualized as a network of interconnected if-then statements, ITs, each representing a neural event or cognitive process. These ITs interact with each other to produce thoughts, perceptions, and behaviors. One key aspect of IT theory is the recognition that many cognitive biases and logical errors can be understood as manifestations of these underlying ITs. For example, let's consider the concept of the availability heuristic, which you've categorized under the branch of cheating in your taxonomy. According to IT theory, the availability heuristic arises from the interplay of various ITs related to memory retrieval and decision-making. Got it? Here's the revised text, with IT pronounced as it. Hey, Jesse. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out to you to share some thoughts I've been having about our discussions on logical fallacies and cognitive biases. I've been exploring a fascinating framework called IT theory, which offers some intriguing insights into human cognition and reasoning. In IT theory, the mind is conceptualized as a network of interconnected if-then statements, ITs, each representing a neural event or cognitive process. These ITs interact with each other to produce thoughts, perceptions, and behaviors. One key aspect of IT theory is the recognition that many cognitive biases and logical errors can be understood as manifestations of these underlying ITs. For example, let's consider the concept of the availability heuristic, which you've categorized under the branch of cheating in your taxonomy. According to IT theory, the availability heuristic arises from the interplay of various ITs related to memory retrieval and decision-making. When individuals rely on readily available information or examples to make judgments or decisions, they may overlook more comprehensive or representative data, leading to biases in reasoning. Similarly, other logical errors listed in your taxonomy, such as the argument from small numbers or the appeal to recapitulation theory, can be seen as outcomes of underlying cognitive mechanisms shaped by evolutionary pressures. By understanding the psychological roots of these logical errors, we can gain deeper insights into why humans are prone to certain types of reasoning biases. I believe you're absolutely right. Let me revise the message to include if-then formulations. Hey, Jesse. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out to you to share some
Don't
thoughts I've been
pause like
having
you're
on our
annoyed.
discussions on logical fallacies and cognitive biases. I've been exploring a fascinating framework called if-then IT theory, which offers some intriguing insights into human cognition and reasoning. In IT theory, the mind is conceptualized as a network of interconnected if-then statements, ITs. Each IT represents a neural event or cognitive process. These ITs interact with each other to produce thoughts, perceptions, and behaviors. For example, if a person encounters a potentially dangerous situation, IF, then their fight or flight response may be activated, then. One key aspect of IT theory is the recognition that many cognitive biases and logical errors can be understood as manifestations of these underlying ITs. For instance, consider the availability heuristic, which arises from if-then mechanisms related to memory retrieval and decision-making. If individuals rely on readily available information or examples F, then they may overlook more comprehensive or representative data then, leading to biases in reasoning. Similarly, other logical errors listed in your taxonomy, such as the argument from small numbers or the appeal to recapitulation theory, can be seen as outcomes of underlying if-then mechanisms shaped by evolutionary pressures. By understanding the psychological roots of these logical errors, we
Okay,
can
whatever.
gain deeper
I'm
insight.
not convinced. He won't be convinced. But I think I can come up with something. And CJ, if you had as many thoughts as I've had so far about the mind, you'd also have come up with something better. But it's not bad. I just don't think it's convincing. All right, can we stop? I'm done, bro. I'm done.